All right, here we go. Here we go. We're going live. We're going live. Let's make sure that the audio is coming through nice and crisp like here on the U of 2. And indeed, it sounds like so. Fantastic. Phenomenal. And we already got our very first little chat here from Lorraine Carrillo. Great to have you here saying first, Yahoo! Immediately reminds me of the movie IQ. Ew. Yeah, we went for a ride. He said, Vahoo. He said, Vahoo? Yeah, when's the last time you said Vahoo? Well, I'm sure I don't know. Oh man, rom coms. Okay, real fast, right at the very opening. I recently began watching the newest Atonche video all about Gone with the Wind, and it opened up with him saying, "Look, guys, if you want to get women, you have to know how to watch chick flicks and how to talk about them." And I would be all like, counterpoints. I was raised with four sisters. I have watched way more chick flicks than most guys will ever admit to. I will happily admit to them because a lot of them are really funny movies. These really good movies. I can tell you this: knowing chick flicks does not make you any more appealing to the female crowd. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. So I have to slap down that advice from Anton Shea. What I will say, though, is this: if you want to have nice conversations with the ladies, you need to know, as a guy, you need to have watched a bunch of chick flicks, and you need to be able to talk about chick flicks in a way that doesn't disparage them. Because chick flicks are good stuff. At least a lot of them are. Man, yeah, we need to bring back the art of the chick flick. I just gotta say that. I mean, the next movie on my list to go see is Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I'm excited for that, but I am pretty certain that Spider-Man: Brand New Day is no chick flick. All right. Well, so for tonight, what we are going to get ourselves into is we are going to be talking about some stories and also thinking a little bit about chick flicks. We will be talking about meet cutes as well, and I have queued up for us a discussion on meet cutes. Excuse me, based on a fantastic web comic that I would highly recommend to just about anyone because it's just so dang cute. And we got Rubens here. I am 2 minutes late. Initiate actualization of the destruction protocol. None shall survive the wrath. None shall survive the wrath. And I just got to put a little comma right there, and then it works perfect. A Lord of Wrath. And actually thinking about wrath, Jess today recorded the audio for the battle analysis of the priest versus lust from Make the Exorcist Fall in Love. And we have just gotten to, all right, we haven't just gotten to it, but we're in the middle of the final arc of that manga where the main villain, contrary to what the opening of the arc states, which is where the priest goes up against Baba Yaga, the real villain is the demon lord of wrath, Satan. Woo! So I know it's been a while since I last did any sort of analysis for Make the Exorcist Fall in Love, but since we are in the final arc, I figure it's a good time to come back and talk about it. And unfortunately, I don't have as much good stuff to say about the fourth arc in the manga, which is the fight against the demon of lust, Asmodeus. I know that everyone else says Asmodeus, but I'm just like, no, Asmodeus just flows off the tongue. Reminds you of a good snick. All right. And if we are lucky, I'm so hoping that we'll have Nathan join us tonight to reveal something really, really cool that he has been working on now for a little while. And that is my hope. In fact, actually, I think I just got a message from him. All right. Yeah, Nathan is getting going. So hopefully he'll be joining us here real soon. In the meantime, let me actually share with everyone here this really cool picture that I just recently got from from one of the incredible artists I've gotten to work with, Giovanni. He's the guy who's done the artwork for my stories, Puss in Boots and the Dark Riddles, and The White Snake. And as I am getting ready to release this book later this year, The Cudgel in the Sack, here's one of the bits of artwork that will be going into that'll be going into the book. Is that a Redwall reference for Asmodeus? Oh yes. Lorraine, you are a person of culture. Yes, from Redwall. Love the book, love the show. And I highly recommend checking out both. The show is fairly different from the book. Way less death because it was made for PBS kids, which is still surprising because it's a really violent story. And the show itself does get pretty violent, just with no exactly on-screen death. But yes, you have the snake, the adder, the great adder, Asmodeus. Asmodeus. Come with me, little mouse, and I will show you eternity. Man, Redwall is so dang good. I will admit I would absolutely love to have to have one of my stories that is kind of Redwall-esque because all the characters are woodland creatures. I would absolutely love to have that made in either an animated form or in comic book form. But that costs money, and that's the kind of money I don't immediately have on hand. Ruben says, from now on, I shall only communicate with Morse code. Now, if I do say what I mean to say is a whole other issue. Dash, 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 dot, dash, 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 dot, dot, dash, dash. And if you know Morse code, then you are in the know. I have not touched Morse code since I was like 12 years old. That is over 20 years in the rear view mirror. I got to squint to see it. But anyways, this little picture you see right here, this will be featured in my upcoming book. I don't yet have a release date for you because the book does still need to go through a couple of revisions to be entirely ready for release, but we are getting there. So excited. And I'm also very excited to bring Nathan to the studio.
Do I sound okay? I had to jump on a different computer due to tech gremlins.
Now you sound pretty good to me.
Okay, good. Because I think I'm just using my headphone mic, so I'm not using my main microphone, but
the microphone is indeed working.
Okay, good. That's what matters the most.
Yep, sounds good to me on YouTube.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. So it's been a little while since we last had you on, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And excited to show off what I've been working on.
Yeah. So since you told me before this that you would only have like limited time because as opposed to me, you're a family man. I can afford to be the lazy bum doing long live streams. So how exactly do you want to bring up the surprise? Are you going to share with me the link, or are we going to try to find some kind of way of sharing your screen? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, I can share my screen, and I can also share, if we want to, I can also share the link maybe as we go further in, so everybody else can kind of join in too.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
Because are we able to share links in the chat? I don't know if that's.
You should be able to share a link in the chat.
Okay.
If not, then you can share it. If not, then you can share it kind of like backstage with me in the private chat, and then I can throw it up since I'm the owner of this stream.
Okay.
And let me see here about sharing screens. Nope, this is only of my screen. I want to be able to show your screen.
Does it show up in the stage?
Here we are. Yep.
Okay, cool.
All right. I am adding it.
Okay.
Oh, I got it. I guess. There we go. Okay. Moving that picture. And there we go.
Here we are. So have you talked at all so far yet about what we're working on, what this is?
No, I have not. I was waiting for you to be the one to pull back the curtain because you've been the one that's been slaving away at this. So I didn't want to steal any of your thunder or say anything that wasn't accurate.
Well, hey, that's okay. Yeah. So yeah, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably quite a few, I work more in the background of Camille's Harem. I am a web developer or a software engineer, technically, by day. And so that's what I do for my day job. And I've always had this dream of making a Camille's Harem website. And so I've been working very hard to make that a reality. And also, I apologize if I am sounding a little bit like quieter. I wanted to do this in a different room, but my main computer, for whatever reason, wasn't going past the boot logo. And so I'm actually doing this on my work computer, and where I have my work computer set up is right next to where my son is asleep, and the walls are kind of thin. So I'm having to talk a little bit quieter than I would have preferred, but here we are. This is the Camille's Harem website, and it is up. You can go to it right now and play with it and have some fun. The idea that I had for the Camille's Harem is that it is as you can see here, it's a community for aspiring authors, but it's a lot of other things: a workshop, a playhouse, a collective, a menagerie, a gathering, all these other things. And one of the things that really kicked us off is, if you've been around the channel a while, you may have remembered us doing what we call writers' roulettes, which the basic fundamental idea of it came from the game Pictionary, right, or Telephone, are kind of the two examples. And I loved the idea of playing a game of Pictionary or Telephone, but with an entire story. And so that kind of launched me into us playing this game, and we've done it throughout the years, and it's super fun. And we've always just done it on like a Google Doc, where the idea is somebody writes a page, we pass that page on to the next writer, who then writes a page, but then they only pass that page on to the next writer. And so as the story progresses through, it becomes more and more just a jumble of chaos, and you're having to try and figure out what's going on through reading the context of the story. And so over time, as we played this, it's so much fun and it's so silly. Some of the things that have happened it's one of my favorite ways to tell stories. But as I went through my programming degree, I was like, I should really make a website that automates all of this for us. And I did at one point for my final, for one of my finals for my programming program, was to make a website, but I never had a chance to launch it to the internet. It was just locally on my computer. And over the years, I've slowly been working on this more and more whenever I have a chance. And I'm just really excited to be able to show this off. So this is the Camille's Harem website. It's official. You can go to it now. It's Camille's harem.web.app. And we can post that in the chat here. Let me just copy that. Let me see. Oh, it wants me to connect. Let's see.
Also, Nathan is posting that if anyone wants to see like what a writer's roulette looks like or sounds like in practice, go check out our playlist, Writer's Roulette. We got 2 of them. There's a couple of others that were recorded that were up on the podcast, which is now kind of defunct. So we should migrate those on over and oh boy, bring back the joys of Genevievanna von Hufflegrith Slitherdoor.
Okay. Which, and I can actually show you if we jump into right real fast. This is just kind of the home screen when you come, and if you scroll down, we kind of have a funnel kind of leading you to others parts of the website, which we'll get into in full detail. But then we have some featured stories. Right now, I don't have any in the Adventures tab, which I'll show you both of these, and then just a little bit more information about how everything works. And so right now we have the Choose Your Own Adventure Creator and the Writer's Roulette pages that are up and ready to be used. Comment has failed to post.
Share it with me in the private chat, and I'll put it up.
Okay, yeah, let me do that. See if you can get it. Okay, there you go.
I should be able to. I don't know why StreamYard is like this.
Well,
and I also kind of blame YouTube, because YouTube does prevent people from just willy-nilly posting stuff, which is good in some cases, but annoying in others.
Yeah. Well, should I show off the Choose Your Own Adventure Story Creator first, or the Writer's Roulette first?
Let's do the Choose Your Own Adventure first.
Okay. Yeah, this one's a little bit simpler to kind of go through, so that might be a good one to start with. Right now, I don't have a ton of Choose Your Own Adventures to really show off, but it basically works how you would expect a Choose Your Own Adventure story goes, right? You can click this open to kind of learn more about how it works. But the basic concept, right, is if you scroll down, no adventures found. I haven't actually created one for the online site yet. So this will be fun. We'll be able to create our very first one. But before I go into the create button, you come over here to this side, you can see you can search. If we had something to search, we could search it. And of course, you can bring this down to filter through ongoing stories, completed stories, can sort, and then you can find specific genres that you like. And then we also have the ability to have mature stories. But if we come in here, we can create a new one, right? And so let's see. Do you have any ideas for a potential Choose Your Own Adventure? I know you always do one every year, Lars, and I kind of made this website specifically with you in mind, Lars. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you're tempting me to already just drop what this year's Choose Your Own Adventure story.
Save it for later.
But actually, you know what? Just for the sake of maybe of being able to populate this for it and have some fun, we'll take. So idea suddenly blossomed in my head. I'm resurrecting this idea right here. You wake up in a study of this beautifully decorated, highly overstuffed manor, and you find you do not remember your name. And there are 3 other people at the table with you, also just waking up.
Okay, so it was you wake up in a study that is beautifully decorated.
Wake up.
How it's
yeah. As you wake up, you find you do not remember your name.
Wake up, you find out, you discover that you do not your name. How many other people are there in the study with you?
There are 3 other people seated at the same table that you are at who are likewise just waking up.
Stuffy study.
Study. Nice thing about this is, as opposed to the writer's roulette, you can edit what you write.
That's right. Which we'll explain that. You wake up in a study that is beautifully decorated. We can build out more detail on this as we kind of go. But 3 others seated at the round table in the study, one by one. Let me put a comma there. That's gonna bother me. Oh my gosh, my son just.
Oh, I heard.
One by one, they pop their heads up. No memories of their names either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say, I was actually thinking about what the continuation for this old story would be like just this week, because we're coming up on Halloween. I know it sounds far away, but tomorrow begins August, September, and then we're in October. Once October hits, I'm starting up the new Choose Your Own Horror Adventure story. So, and this is going to be a big one this year.
That's exciting. Give me a second. I'm going to go check on my son real fast.
Yeah, sure thing.
Sorry.
No worries. Again, Nathan is the family guy here. So, for those because we do have quite a few new people who've joined our channel since last Halloween. We're growing, which is great. Every year I do a choose your own adventure story for the month of October, and it's always horror themed because it's the month of Halloween. And I've been trying to find a good way of being able to communicate those stories other than just on Facebook, because years ago when I first began doing these, I just did them purely on Facebook. But especially when I became a teacher, as a means of interacting with my students at the beginning of class, I began to do the choose your own horror adventure story across all of my classes, and those were always a hit. Always a whole lot of fun. In part because I know students want to not do classwork, but it was fun. People love to be in charge of a story. People love to be able to interact with a story. And doing a choose your own adventure horror story in person definitely adds more of a flavor to it, because you can get that immediate feedback. You can see how like the rest of the room is voting and stuff, and kind of like either go against it or go with the flow, which just increases the energy. But still being able to like do it in any form online has just always been an absolute blast. And my hope is that one of these days I'll be able to have like so many people behind one of these stories that it gets just beautiful momentum going. And the story that Nathan began writing up here a little bit for, this is actually an older story that I did years ago, specifically for my students. And it involves this mystery of you as the POV character not knowing anything about yourself or the people who you are with, and you don't know this room. you have to try to figure out to the best of your ability who you are, where you are, and everything about the room is a nasty surprise waiting to happen. And so the horror, so it's just the existential dread of not knowing who you are, not knowing anyone else, and then the existential dread of that every choice you make, even the smallest, ends up having massive repercussions on what's going on in the room. And where it goes, I mean, is what you determine by your own choices, but the lore behind it, of everything, you will not be able to guess. It's something that you have to discover by trial and error, and it's a whole lot of fun. And it was an idea that inspired much more grandiose ventures that I thought would be a whole lot of fun to get into. The only problem is that as someone who does not have a background in programming or in art, and severely lacks those kinds of skills, the great vision of where I would take this particular setting of the story is unfortunately just limited to what words I can assemble, whether in spoken form or in written form. But I would love to someday be able to take the setting of this overstuffed, gorgeous study and reveal to people in a more artistic way what is all there, because it is a fascinating yet terrifying place to be. And I see you're back, Nathan.
I am. I'm not sure what happened. But he seemed to have put himself back to sleep, so that's good.
Hey, it's very nice. Yesterday, last night I had to help put my niece to sleep, and I took her out for a drive, and as I was driving about, I got to a place with speed bumps, and by this time she seemed to have been asleep. But she was just so funny the way she had draped herself in just the weirdest way possible in her car seat. And when I hit those speed bumps, she just flopped. I was like, "Oh no, I've woken her up." And she's like, "Huh?" And then went right back to sleep. It was like, "Whoo, okay, we're safe. We're safe."
Yeah, that's funny.
So I have a question for you, Nathan, as far as this goes. The choose your own adventure story. Is this something that anyone can just like jump on and just start creating their own story, and that
Absolutely
everyone else can just come and interact with?
Uh-huh.
All right.
And I'll show that off a little bit more. Groggy and unsure. You discover. 3 others discover. 3 others sitting around.
So one of the things that we have wanted to do for years as a part of Camille's Harem is we've wanted to be able to facilitate interactions between people who want to write.
Yes.
That's one of the things that that's one of the things that led us to finally biting the bullet and forming and having our own Discord server, was that we just wanted to be able to facilitate those interactions. And being able to have this website is just another tool that we hope will help to connect people. And especially for a lot of aspiring writers, a lot of people, we've come to find out, are scared of that first step of putting themselves out there. And so the hope is that a site like this, as well as our Discord, is a place where people can come to be able to begin sharing their story ideas, gain that confidence to express themselves, express their stories, and once you've been able to do that with people that you feel you can trust, or at least feel confident posting it anonymously on the internet, it does become a whole lot easier to begin telling people, "I'm a writer." And then you'd be surprised how often that's well received. I think I can count on like one hand how many times I've had negative responses to telling people that I'm an author. There's very, very few people who are negative about it. and it always has to do with money. They're always like, well, hey, you must not be looking to be rich. And I was like, yeah, I do it because I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Any other, probably adventure. Well, maybe not adventure.
I'd say adventure.
Okay.
It definitely has an adventure-esque feel to it. Since you're
cozy,
exploring.
potentially noir. What do you think? Any more that fit the bill? I don't know if you can see that. Can I?
You'd be able to. Hold on a sec here.
If I do that, does that help?
Yeah, expand just a wee bit. Mystery. Yeah, you got it. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's good for right now.
Erotica. No, I'm just kidding.
well.
Yeah, so now that we've kind of have our summary, our title, we can then move down to our voting deadline. And basically how this works is just a day or 3 days or 7 days, 14, 1 month, or no deadline. After you post your last written page, it opens up voting for people to choose where the story goes next. And so you can pick how many days or none at all, and just whenever you write the page, that's when voting closes, right? And so for this, we'll just say 1 day. And then you have the ability to go public or private. And one thing to note is that private it's not strictly speaking like private to the world, I mean, it's private to the world, but you can still share the URL, and anybody with that URL can come to your story and access it, right? And so you don't want to put anything sensitive inside of a private story, because people can still come to your story and see it. It just, you won't be able to like, what's the word, like search for it in like a public way. So that's something to keep in mind, right?
It's just
internet,
good.
private
It's just
isn't
internet
actually
etiquette
private.
to not share personal information. So
exactly, 100%. And then our last thing is just kind of the content rating, right? So this is just kind of what you expect this story to kind of contain. So all ages, think of it like PG, right? And then you've got teen, which is more of like a PG-13 rated story. And then mature is obviously anything that's going to be explicit or have sexual content or a lot of profanity or something like that, right? So you have options to kind of say like, hey, just so you know, this could be mature, And
so that way we know if we need to rank it, if we need to put it into the stuck and borking category.
Yeah. Anyway, and then you just continue to the first page, right? And then here we have, we don't talk about stuck and borking. That was a writer's roulette. For some context, it was a writer's roulette we did, where it was a very silly take on the Twilight series, where secretly the concept of it was that Edward was delusional, and Jacob was delusional. Him and his whole wolf pack were all just mass not mass hysteria, but mass, like,
they were all mass tripping on shrooms or something like that.
Thinking that they were wolves, but in reality they were just a bunch of naked dudes running through like through the forest, right? And then Edward was an Amish cannibal that they thought were vampires, but really they weren't. And then Bella was actually just a sentient body pillow. That's how the story began. Very quickly, a lot of gay sexual tension was introduced between Edward and Jacob, which is fine, but then it got very explicit very quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we got a good chiding from someone for that.
yes,
uh
it
yeah.
yeah, it kind of, it rolled out of control very quickly. Um, but anyway, here we come to the page where we write, and I should have probably prepared something for this, and I'm gonna do the unthinkable, and I am going to use AI to build out this page. And then after I build out this page, just so I can show you, I'm going to delete it and we're going to write it for reals.
All right.
But this will just be an example, right? So
Yeah.
let me just ask AI real fast. Say, I typically try to avoid using AI in my writing as much as is physically possible, which I mean is I avoid using it in my writing more altogether. But I think this is just as a demonstration purpose, right? We'll use it.
Yeah. Well, and I still need to share with everyone the side by side comparison. Just thinking of AI writing, the side by side comparison of what I had. This was about a year ago now, actually. So, of Chat GTP versus me in writing the first chapter for Whitefire, and one of the one of the things that actually came out of that experience was me saying, you know what, this is a bad beginning. Like both what I and Chat GTP wrote, I was like, nah, scrap this.
Yeah. Well, and not that we need to get into the whole AI thing, but I think that AI is somewhat useful in the sense of like what not to do sometimes in your
Mhm.
writing. Um, and so it's actually something, and again, we don't need to get into it, but I've often wondered, like, if we lived in a different world where AI didn't have all of the negative implications it currently does, what would there be an application of AI that could be useful for stories? And I wish we lived in a different world where AI isn't so charged, and because we could have, like, there could be in a situation, right? Generative AI,
Mhm.
obviously not what you should be using for your stories. Um, but I think that there are ways that AI can be used to potentially benefit your writing, like managing your day-to-day schedule, right? Those things, like if we lived in a world where AI could help you in different aspects of your life so that you could focus better on your writing, I think that could have been, you know, um, I think that could be a great use of AI, but we don't currently live in that world, right? Because AI is just this money grubbing machine that has a lot of negative connotations and negative aspects to it, right? And so anyway, I don't need to get into this, but that's just one thing that I'd say on this front.
Mhm.
Okay, let me just write this prompt real fast. So, sorry, Lars, do you mind entertaining for a second?
Oh no, not at all. Well, actually, and so if anyone wants to try, because I just right now pulled up the website for myself, and it is smooth.
Yeah.
But as Nate gets into that real quick, Tykeman wrote also Toy Story 5 now has 1 billion at the box office, which congratulations to Toy Story 5. And I don't know if I brought this up in a previous live stream, but I did go see the movie and I liked it. I was genuinely impressed that they managed to make a couple of things work that I was like, there's no way they could make this work. If I've one real big complaint about Toy Story 5, It is how they've made Buzz Lightyear just stupider over time. And I'm like, that's a bit of a shame because one of the neat things about Buzz Lightyear is that he goes from a very ignorant toy to then a great advocate for what a toy should be in movies 2 and 3. And it just goes to show his growth as a character, and then also how he builds his own independence from Woody. And movies 4 and 5 definitely get rid of that, which is a bit of a shame. Lorraine says, I was about to say it sounds like Don Quixote before the ending you described. Yeah. Stuck in Baborking, just go, woof, that's something else. But if you want a much, much better writer's roulette, one that we're just dying laughing, we need to share the Harry Potter writer's roulette that we did back in the day. That was absolutely hilarious. And we got TV account here. Great to have you here, TV account. Tyler Goodman says Game of Verse is about to get 30 million views, which is awesome. And let me just quickly say here, I'm surprised that we haven't yet gotten the announcement for the continuation of Game of Verse. But I think that's because what I didn't know and why no one else really knew before it dropped was that they would then do the Meet Jay little mini episode for Murder Drones. And I think that they wanted to make sure that had its time to like really breathe, do its own thing. And then after that, they can then start really turning their gaze on over to the newer stuff that they've done. So my guess would be is that we'll, this is just a guess, but my guess would be that sometime next month we'll get confirmation of Game of Verse being greenlit for a whole season. Document says, also, I watched Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it was amazing, and the post-credits was awesome. Awesome. That is great. I've been seeing some positive reviews already for the movie. I've been doing my best to avoid major spoilers, and I'm going to try to see it as soon as I can, and hopefully have a great time seeing it. I also got to say this. Weirdly, like, if you could talk to teenage me, to teenage Lars would have been like, what's so great about Spider-Man? I didn't get Spider-Man as a teenager. I thought he was not, like I would watch the Spider-Man cartoons. He wasn't my favorite. He wasn't even close to my favorite superheroes. But as I've gotten older, I've really, really come to appreciate just how cool Spider-Man is as an individual and as a superhero. And I'm really glad that Tom Holland with the MCU is getting the opportunity to really fully explore Spider-Man. Because we've had because think about this. Not only do we now have 4 separate Spider-Man movies with the same actor, but you also have Civil War and you have the Avengers movies, all of which add just further depth and color to the character. And as such, this take on Spider-Man really does feel more in line with the actual comic book character. So I think that's really a fantastic accomplishment that should be applauded. And Tigerman says the Odyssey got 700 million at the box office, 50 million more, and it will have broken even. And actually, on that note, I hope to be able to do fairly soon a video on numbers, the numbers that creators stress over, and why they are important, but also when it is okay to just give yourself a pass. Because I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers really decry those who keep track of box office numbers, those who talk about how many copies of a book have been sold, how many views like a short or a movie or a show have gotten on YouTube or on Amazon or Netflix, because they're just like numbers. It causes anxiety, which is true. And like, it's all part of the end stage capitalism, which we'll have that debate somewhere else. But the numbers are important if you're trying to make a living off of your art. If
Yeah.
you just want to be an artist for the artistic sake, whether that be drawing, making music, making animatics, writing books, whatever it is, if you're just in it for the fun of it, who cares about the numbers? Don't worry about that stuff. Worry about what your craft is, worry about yourself, and you will feel way better about it. The moment that you want to make a living off of doing this stuff, the numbers do become important. But there's a difference between accepting that the numbers are important and obsessing over them. And there's also a difference in that numbers are not the end all be all of how successful a project is. Like, for example, I have sold by now maybe a couple of dozen copies of my book Tumble Teller, which is my most viewed book. And it's got a great old rating of, well, depending on which site you go to, 4.7 or 4.8 stars out of 5. Woohoo! Great stuff. But again, coming back to people who are like, yes, but do you make any money? And it's like, true, I've only made a handful of dollars off of Tumble Teller. Not even enough to make up for the investment in the cover art. But I really enjoyed writing Tumble Teller. Tumble Teller also got me out of a funk with writing and helped me to break through writer's block at one point. I've really appreciated this, and I love the story. I love the world. I love the characters. And the people who've had the chance to read it have all really enjoyed it. So, bearing that all in mind, I might not have made a profit on the book yet. It's not a bestseller. But the people who have had positive interactions with that book, including myself, well, that means everything. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Well, and that's what art means, you know. It's not about making the money, it's about expressing yourself and putting yourself out there. And of course, the money is nice, but it's not what it's about at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, the money really, like the numbers really only begin to matter when you are like, this is my life. And even when that's the case, you have to be able to step back from that. Because if you obsess over the numbers, it's going to absolutely destroy your artistic drive.
Well, and also obsessing about the numbers can definitely change your artistic drive, but also just like your integrity, like your artistic integrity as well. Like you think about like all of the biggest, you know, YouTubers out there, like how you look at the type of content they were making when they first started, and when you could tell that they were enjoying what they were doing. And then you look at once they got super big and they were chasing the algorithm and chasing the numbers, like how quickly it turned into something that just felt like clickbait and felt like, you know, which is one of the reasons why I've always really admired Olin Rogers, because he's never just chased the numbers. He has always done what he artistically wanted to do, and it has always paid off well for him, right? To keep that integrity of it as an artist. And it's, yeah, when your art is your livelihood, it's very tempting to chase after what sells. And I mean, I remember talking to some authors at Barnes and Noble, and them being like, I am very grateful for romance authors because they sell so many books, and it allows me to be able to write not romance books, you know. And some authors also write romance books under like a pen name, a pseudonym, right? So that they can write the stories they want to write. And sometimes you got to just do both. You got to find the balance and be okay with, you know, the content that you don't want to be your bread and butter being the content that is what gains you everything, what makes you money.
Mhm.
But this is all to say the Odyssey was phenomenal and the artistic direction was phenomenal.
Ooh.
And he is a man who makes stories not because it makes a lot of money, which it definitely makes a lot of money, but he makes them because he loves to make them. And you can tell he has so much passion behind it.
Yeah. Wait, so
Anyway.
Nathan, you've had the chance to see it?
Yes.
All right. Do you mind if I offer my quick rant of praise for one particular scene?
Sure. And then I also got to tell my story about the power going out in the middle of it.
Oh my gosh.
Were you not? Did you not remember that whole thing?
I don't remember this.
Yeah, it was a whole thing on our group chat.
Oh my gosh.
And it was playing Harry Potter music on top of like the movie.
That's crazy.
Anyway, I'll tell you about it. You tell your bit of praise, and then I'll tell you about my experience with the power going out in the middle of the Odyssey.
All right. So real quick, there is one scene towards the end of the Odyssey where Odysseus is pretending to be, and I'm not giving any spoilers away from the actual story by saying this, because Odysseus does this also in the poem. Odysseus pretends to be someone else, another veteran of the Trojan Wars, and he goes and sits near Penelope, his wife, and recounts the tales of Odysseus. The movie adds far more significance to this moment by him detailing the one thing that Penelope has been waiting to hear from anyone who says that they've got word of Odysseus, and it is of the pin that he has on him that he's worn at all times, a woman's pin depicting the goddess Athena. And if she hears that description, she then knows that that this is a true story about Odysseus. So she hears it and she immediately realizes, I'm hearing a story about Odysseus. And it's even kind of hinted that she might realize that this is Odysseus who's speaking to her. That's left up to interpretation. But his recounting of the Trojan Wars, especially the sacking of Troy, is so dang good, because it goes from this very heartwarming moment, this reunion, and the burst of hope for Penelope, to then swinging right onto just the depravity of war, and especially of what a sacking is. And you see Odysseus go from the height of triumph, being the one who has orchestrated the downfall of Troy with the Trojan horse, to then realizing just the nightmare that he has unleashed on the people of Troy, and how he has allowed for his fellow Greeks to just become absolute animals, and they spare no one. And as he is speaking, as he's recounting this, Athena comes and joins him and takes his hand, like giving him strength to continue to tell this awful story. And you then see that the last memory he has, the sacking of Troy, is this young woman is beheaded. It's the same face that Athena wears, and then he says, "We are the sea peoples." And Emia's like, "Whoa, whoa!" I was like, Christopher Nolan, you did it. When I heard that the Sea Peoples were going to be incorporated into this movie, I was like, how are you going to do that? Because the Sea Peoples are actual historical pirates, basically a giant alliance of pirates who wiped out the Mediterranean world thousands of years ago. The only reason why we even know that these people existed, because they so thoroughly wiped out the known Mediterranean civilization, is because the Egyptians were the only kingdom that managed to beat them, and they made all of these inscriptions and carvings of the Sea Peoples, and based on those, we actually know that the Sea Peoples in part were Greeks. And so I was impressed with that, because by tying in actual history to the Trojan War and all of the things that are subtly talked about and shown throughout the movie, all of this is brought together in just this amazing moment of why Odysseus has taken so long, why he's now the man that he is. He's like, I am the one who brought down Troy, and I don't see it anymore as a great honor. What I did was awful because I broke all the rules of civilization. As a result, civilization is literally crumbling now down around us as the Greeks have eaten up everything. And with Sparta being one of the only holdouts, is also, as far as we know, historically accurate. That Sparta is one of the few Greek kingdoms that, in any kind of way, likely survived the Bronze collapse. And so I was like, wow, Christopher Nolan. Not only is this an incredibly emotional and nuanced scene with a great message about what war does to people, but you even made it historically relevant. It is such a good scene.
I love that. I didn't know about the historical relevance of the sea people, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was blown away. I've seen a handful of people try to tear that scene apart, and I'm like, I won't hear any of it. There is one moment of clunky dialogue, but clunky dialogue aside, like, this scene delivers so many levels, and the more you know, the more powerfully it hits.
That's cool. Well, I'll let me tell you my experience at the movie theater real fast, and then we gotta get back to this because I actually have some plans with my brother after this, so I kind of need to get back to it. But basically, we went and saw the Odyssey, and it was super late because that was the only showing that they had at like it wasn't an IMAX theater, but it was like the better of the options here where I live. Like the nicest theater or the nicest screen, right, with the best sound system and all that kind of stuff. And so we had to do a 10 o'clock showing, which it's already like a 3+ hour movie. So we were getting home late. And we kind of had to do later in the night when after my son had gone down to bed, because that's just how it worked out. And so we show up, we get maybe an hour in, and we get to the scene where, and this may be a little bit of a spoiler, but I won't go into too much detail. If you know about the poem, then you know that there is a Cyclops in it. But anyway, we get to the scene where the Cyclops like comes into play, and like the emergency floodlights just randomly blink like on and then off. And so number one, it's like so bright, but and then it was just off, and then the audio kicked out, but the projector stayed on. And so suddenly this Cyclops scene, we're like trying to watch it, and there's no audio at all.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's maybe like that for like 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the audio kicks back on, but it kicks on with like the pre-movie like advertisement audio. And so like the Cyclops is like there on the screen, and we just start hearing all of this Harry Potter music with like a join us for the special Harry Potter rewatch event, like all while and then it kicks over to like the next episode or like the next thing, and it's like an advertisement for like concessions or whatever, and it's like right as the Cyclops like picks up one of the thing, like the guys, and like starts to eat it, and and the advertisement just like, got the munchies, take a big bite of this. And it was wild. Eventually, I think it was about 20 minutes go by, and obviously people are coming in and out and trying to figure out what's going on, and they just tell us like the power went out, we're trying to figure it out, but it's going to take some time. After about 25 minutes, they finally get the audio back up and running and synced up. and then maybe 5 minutes goes by, and then it just like stops, and we're like, and it's just frozen. We're like, what's going on? And then like maybe a minute later, it starts like rewinding, but they didn't rewind far enough. And then like this guy comes out and it's like, hey, like where were you guys at? You know? And literally the guy, like just some dude just yells like, we're at the place with the monster. And I'm like, the monster? That is very specific. Like there's a lot of monsters in this movie. Like you couldn't have come up with a more descriptive way of saying where we were. Anyway, but they eventually like rewind and get to the right spot. But we were there literally like it was probably 45 extra minutes. So we didn't get home until like 2 o'clock at night. And then it was like I had plans for 8 in the morning the next morning, and I'm just like, no, we're canceling those plans. I'm gonna sleep in.
Yeah.
So that was my story, but I did eventually get to see the whole movie, which was great. And I got a free ticket to come back and see it again. So
that's very nice of them. It's like, sorry for the experience here. Have a ticket.
Oh, sorry. Don't look at that. Oh, okay, good. It didn't show up. Oh, I accidentally opened up a work window.
Oh.
Anyway, but it didn't show. So we're good. Anyway, so moving on, right? So obviously we made this little AI generated prompt or this page, which we'll go in and make it not AI generated, but you can see it kind of keeps track for you. You're able to add options here. You can add an additional option, and you can add up to 9 options if you can read it there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so
it's too tempting for me.
I
need to limit myself to 3.
Yeah. Well, it automatically gives you 2, but you can go up to as many as you want. And I went back and forth. I'm like, no, we should just have unlimited options. And then I was like, no, we should probably, at least at first, keep it reined in.
Yeah.
And then you just do publish. Hopefully this works. I haven't tested it on the main site. And there we go. It's there, which is great. And then one thing, too, is that we kind of have the ability to choose your the font you want to read at, and then the size is not working. That is a good thing to know, right? And then you can choose kind of the different colors behind it, and then there's a scrolling version and a page version. But as you read, you get to read it, and then you come down to the bottom, and then it gives you your options, right? You can see we got our 4 options here, and we can click vote for this one. It should take a second, and there we go. And so you can see 100% of people have voted for this option. And if you go, right, and so then let's see, come back here, and we'll just refresh this. Where is it? It's not showing up. Oh boy. This is always fun to be demoing and something doesn't work. But anyway, it should be here. I'll have to look at the server and see if something went wrong. But that's how the adventure page works. And then obviously when you want to write a new page, you would just go in, create a new page, which I could check and see. Yeah. Oh, it's because I set it to private. So that's good to know. Make this story public. Yes. It'll take a second. And there it goes. Okay, so now if we go here, huzzah.
There we are.
So here it is. Here we are. And you can choose to follow this story if you'd like. And there we go. And if you click on it, you get more information about it. It says this is an ongoing adventure. Vote on where the story goes next. You can see we have 24 hours left to vote for it. So you can read it, go in, and vote. Obviously, I can't vote again because I've already locked in my vote. But if I wanted to continue the story, I could hit continue. It shows me which option is, which one has the most amount of votes. And say if like option 3, they were both at like 50-50 or really close, I can choose to actually overwrite the automatic option, right? And say, we're actually going to go with this one. And this is basically just so, like, if they're going back and forth, neck and neck, like, you don't want to start writing this page, come up with the story, and then when you go to submit it, it like the percentage changes. And so this way, it just lets you kind of lock in which direction you're going to take the story. And then, obviously you would write the story, come up with a few more, and then you would do publish page. You can see we also have this extra button, which is end adventure. So that's just if you feel like the story is hitting a point where it could be wrapped up, you say end adventure, and that ends the story. And then it just sits in the finished, completed stories section.
And this is so exciting. This is so exciting. I can't wait.
Thanks.
I cannot wait to work with this.
And then, of course, you can also see, if you click here, you get to go to the website, which if I sign out and I sign in, we'll sign in with the Camille's Harem account. So you can kind of see. So here's the Camille's Harem, which, by the way, I should mention, this is the profile page. One thing I did is each kind of page has a different color scheme, which I really like. One of my biggest complaints with modern websites is everything is either white or black.
Yes.
And there's very little expression of color. And so I really wanted to bring a lot of the fun colors into just bring just color vomit onto the back to the web, right? But in a tasteful way, of course. And so the color scheme for this is kind of a terracotta color. We have gold, we have teal, we have purple, and then the main site is just kind of all of them together, or the landing page. But this is where you could set your defaults for the reader. So say you want a size 14 font, and there's a kind of 3 different or 4 different options for the background color. We'll just stick with white. And then if you want to be able to just have endless scrolling when you read, or if you want it to be pages that you flip through. And so that's what that is. And then you can just hit save. You can also change kind of what your name is. By default, it's just what the Google Google defaults to, right? So if you log in, it'll just be what your Google account name is. And so, if you wanted to say hello there and then hit save, and then it changes your name, right? Mm-hmm. So you can kind of customize it, right? Down here in the story section, you can see the stories that you've authored or stories that you have contributed to. Which I'll get more into contributing into roulettes later. But you can see, private stories or public stories. And then I also made a list view and a card view, which was kind of fun to make the differences.
Yeah.
And then these are all of your stories that you're currently following. So you can see your roulettes or your adventures or all of them. And then you can choose to show this on your private or your public profile. And so if I go back to adventure and I come here, I can show this is my personal one, but this is my public profile, right? So it shows off the stories I'm following, the stories that I've authored, and then my name. And so if we sign out, you may see an extra tab here. This is for admins of the website. So most people will not see a moderation tab, but as you go through a story, you have the ability to report a story, right? So do an example, right? So if we come into here, there's an option to report this page, and you can say that's inappropriate for its rating, or there's spam or harassment or whatever, right? And you can submit those reports, and then a moderator can kind of review that and look at it, and then you may get I thought I had. It'll show up down here. I thought I had put a report on myself, but apparently I didn't. But yeah, it'll just kind of show. Yeah, it'll just kind of show in your profile if you have had a report on your account. You know, that's just to kind of help keep people from spamming things, right? And then we can review it and stuff. Anyway, so moving on to our roulette feature. This is kind of the big. This is the what I would say the flagship feature for this website, and kind of like I said at the beginning, for those who are joining, this is the new and I guess not improved because there's never been a Camille's Harem website. This is the Camille's Harem website that I've been building over the past few years. We have a choose your own adventure story creator, which I kind of covered over. We talked a little bit about the profile page, but the writer's roulette, which you may be familiar if you're a longtime viewer of the channel. But how it works basically is it is a story told with very similar rules to the game of telephone or the game of Pictionary, where you write a page, you pass that page on to the next author, and then that author writes a page based off of what they read from your page. And then that page gets passed on and passed on. But the thing is that you can only ever read the previous page. Now, I did do a few little tweaks on that formula for this. Number one is that it only ever hides like the past 5 pages plus a few additional. And so you can go into, say, an older story that's been running for several pages, and you can read the beginning of the story. And that's just to kind of give you some interest in what's going on so that you can see, like, okay, is this a story I want to contribute to?
Yeah.
But we'll start from just kind of basically same thing as the adventure. You can kind of sort and look through, try and find one that you that interests you, or sort or find mature stories, whatever, yada yada yada, and then you can create, right? And here, obviously, we would do a testing a prompt. So here you would obviously give the story a title. You would do a prompt that kind of explains the concept of your story. Choose a few of these. And then this is where it kind of gets into a lot of the granularity of how you set up one of these writer's roulettes. So you get page length, which a short one is going to be pretty snappy, pretty quick little pages. So approximately 125 to 250 words, or about half a written page. And contributors will have about 20 minutes to read the previous page before writing their page. If they run out of time, they lose the claim on that page, and it goes back into the mix for other people to pick up the page and write from. So just something to keep in mind, that there is a time limit. And this is one of those things, anybody who's watching, I would love beta testers. I'm going to put this up on the Discord channel, hopefully sometime this weekend, for people to kind of fiddle with, to play with, to use, so that I can kind of get an idea of what kind of needs tweaking and fixing. And one of the things I would really love beta testers to look at is this time limit, right? I want there to be a time limit to kind of put pressure on getting that page out. But I don't want it to be too punishing to the point where people aren't able to write their page. And so that's something that I kind of need to work with beta testers on to test it out. So if you're interested, please, I would love some testing, some help testing. And so that's all to say. we have these different lengths. So short is up to 250 words. Medium is up to 500 words. This is more of kind of a single page. You have long, which is a page and a half, and sprawling, which is 2 pages. And on the sprawling, you're given 60 minutes to read the previous page and write your page. Next, you have your author's cooldown. This is the amount of authors that need to write before you can write again. And that goes for anybody who contributes. So if you have just one, then one author writes, and then another author can write, and then you can write again, and then they can write again. So it can be like kind of a ping pong back and forth. For default, 2 or 3 is probably best, but you can have up to 5 or more, right? So the 5 doesn't say that like you can only have 5 writers. It's just saying that there must be at least 5 writers before somebody can rewrite a page. And so the more author cooldown you have, the more chaotic the story will get, because you're having to wait on other people's ideas, and they're going to throw a lot into the mix, and it just makes it really fun. This is probably my favorite setting, writing mode. The first one is vanilla, which is just standard writing. You can write, you can edit, you can change things, all just normal. Then there's frantic, which is how we have always done writer's roulette. It's one of our favorite kind of modifiers, where the delete and the backspace are completely disabled. So every typo you have stays in the story. And that creates some absolutely hysterical typos. And it is so much fun. And then, of course, being me and being the devious little devil that I am, I had to take it one step further and introduce chaotic mode. The delete and the backspace are still disabled, but there is a 5% chance that a random character will sneak in as well as you type, which nice. 5% doesn't sound that high, but it absolutely makes it so difficult. It really is a lot more than you'd think it is. Which this is actually another thing that I'd love to test with some other, anybody who's interested in beta testing, because I want to try and make sure that this is dialed in. I kind of had to write some special rules around it to make sure, because I was just having, like, I would type one character and it would like type out an entire word of gibberish, and it just felt a little bit too aggressive, even at just like 5%. Mm-hmm. And so this is something I'd love to test with some beta testers as well, because I've done some tweaking to keep it from doing that. Basically, not that you need to know the inner workings, but there's a cooldown for when a random character gets interjected. It waits for at least 5 more characters before calculating the random chance of putting in another. And so I just want to test that and see if this is a good balance, right? Next, we kind of have a little bit of an inspired choice, I guess. We have these author sticky notes. Basically what this is it's like a little sticky note you would put up next to your monitor as you write. And these basically function as little author's notes that are separated from the story that you can put context in for your page. So by default, it's off, but you can say have the sticky notes show up. They're very short notes, but you can have the sticky note show up for the next writer who comes in. And only the next writer can see your notes. So if you need to sneak in a few little details into the note that you couldn't fit on the page, or you couldn't figure out how to meld it in with the story, that could be really helpful. But then there's also the option to send it to all the writers. So anybody who comes in and writes the story can see all of the previous notes that are left, and that really can help with like continuity, or kind of following a set of characters or stories and reintroducing those later on. This kind of came from when we did a few of our writers' roulettes, we realized one in our Murder on the Moor writers' roulette, we ended up creating kind of a time loop by accident
Yeah.
because it was a murder mystery, but it was just literally like, oh, this is interesting. Then we would walk to a new place. Oh, this is interesting. And then we would walk to a new place. Oh, this is interesting. And we never actually like started to put together the mystery because we kept thinking somebody else would handle it and push, and we kept kicking the can down the road. And then in our most recent one, the man who wasn't afraid due to mental health reasons or whatever we ended up calling
Yeah,
the
the
title
boy
of.
who went to learn fear.
Yeah. With that one, it was supposed to be like 3 challenges that he's given to test his fear or whatever. And it ended up being like a dozen challenges, right? Because nobody knew how many challenges we were on. And so
Yeah.
this sticky notes kind of would be an example of like, hey, here's where we are in the story. Here's where we're kind of thinking it should go. That's kind of the purpose of the sticky notes. You can choose to have them if you want maximum chaos, or you can choose to have all writers write for maximum collaborative, right? And so that's really what this is all about, is just creating collaborative storytelling stories.
Mm-hmm.
Just to collaborate together with other writers in ways that are novel and unique and fun. But again, private, public, you can choose whether you share it in the searching pages or not, and then you can choose your content, your content ratings for it, right? Then you continue on to the first page. Very simple. You write your page, and you leave your sticky note, and you just click go, right? That's all this is. Pretty simple. As an example, I can kind of show there's 2 here. There's this one that is currently open for anybody watching to go and write on. And please do, right? One thing to know, this is chaotic mode, so it will be crazy. And the other thing to remember is that this is rated teen, so nothing super explicit, no heavy use of profanity, those kind of things. But this is an ongoing story. You can go in, you can write, and you're given 60 minutes to read the previous page and write. Which I guess I could switch over to the other account so I can kind of show you what that would look like from somebody who hasn't written on it, right? So if I go in here and I hit read, so you can see I am not able to see this page yet because I have to claim that I want to write it. Now I could pass if I don't want to write. I can say, you know what? I'm not really interested in the writing aspect of these roulettes. I just want to read. You can click reveal pages and you'll be able to read, but you will never be able to write on this story again. So something to keep in mind. But if I claim and write, ready to write, claiming this page reserves it just for you. You'll see the previous page and have time to craft your contribution. So I can say start writing. It's loading. It takes a second. And here we go. It gives you a reminder of what the content rating is. And then you're given the first page. On your Myrict came the announcers again. 3, 2, 1 F. Go for the cheddar. Everyone yells or read in unison. Anyway, so yeah,
Yes.
you're given 60 minutes to try and decipher what this all says, and then you write your next page. And of course, you're still able to kind of see. We can close that up. You can still kind of see the original prompt, which was really important for me to be able to always have this kind of quickly able to glance at. So if there's anything important that you want to stay in your story, you make sure you add it to the prompt here. And then obviously you would write your next page, and you have to hit at least 50% of the maximum amount, right? So I'm just gonna do this, right? Will it let me paste? Oh, it might not let me paste.
As you're doing that, I want to emphasize something right here. Like
I
no
can't
like
delete it.
even though we would love to have people come and beta test this, and we're definitely gonna be reaching out on our Discord for that. Like no pressure to dive into any of this, but I highly encourage that if you're interested in just having some fun writing, that you check this out, especially the Writers Roulette. One of the things that I have come to find is that a lot of novice authors feel very self-conscious about their work. This is a great opportunity to just mess around, have fun, collaborate with other authors, realize that you know what, you're in the same boat as pretty much everybody else, and you don't have to worry that this is going to like come back and bite you in the butt later on, or that or that there's a teacher hovering over this with a ruler ready to smack you. Oh no, none of this, or an editor or crowd that's going to tear you to pieces. This is just simply for fun, and the more writing for fun that you do, like the more it just becomes natural to just write and to have fun doing it, and that's just really excellent for your own mental health and for the health of your stories.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that note. That's a very good point. Yeah. So anyway, if you're, say if I, oh my gosh, I forgot I can't backspace. So if I try to type hello there, okay. How are you doing today? I am doing very well. This is not helping me. Oh my gosh. You see, like it becomes kind of chaotic very quickly, especially somebody like me who's such a haphazard typer. I just kind of smash my forehead on the keyboard a few times and hope that it made a word. That's my writing style anyway. But anyway, when you're done with the page, you can submit it. I'm actually going to cancel this because I actually want people to go in and write this page. It's just letting you know that your draft will be lost if you cancel your claim. Yes, cancel. And now this page number 2, is out there for anybody else to write if they wish to. So if you are if you're interested, you can go to Camille's Harem, Camille's-Harem web.app and go check out this and help me beta test. If you find any errors or issues, please let me know on the Discord. You can just tag me at Nate. Outside of that, I think that more or less covers it. Here's an example of a previous Writers Roulette we did, which I kind of brought into here, which, again, you can always follow to save it. Moderators have the ability to pin a story as a featured story. Don't worry about that. But we can go in and read it, and you can see we have 8 pages. And this one was a lot of fun. This is a great example. Right, we had a detective, Wimbley Wombly.
Wimbley Wombly.
Constable McEdinburghshire, McGurkin, Wombly muttered under his breath. This one, you can actually see our epic reading of it here on the YouTube channel. It's such a blast.
And that was also done with our friend Zaza. So
it was, yeah. Which the very last page was written by Zaza, which is so fun. So here it is. By Jove! Which, that actually reminds me. I should probably explain that too. So if I go back to my account real fast because I was the one who wrote that last one. See, I can come in here. Yes, read. Okay, I have the ability now, this extra button that says finish story. If I click finish story, it's going to give me the ability to write a page that is 2 to 3 times as long and finish out the story. And no more people will, and then the story will be complete, right? And so there is the ability to just end the story so it doesn't just go on endlessly. And again, it gives you more leeway to write a longer page. There's no time restraint. But that's just one other thing I meant to kind of point out. But here we are. This is it. And of course, you can choose if you want white, dark, black, or to also make it just an endless scroll. So pretty excited about how this turned out. There's definitely some things I need to fiddle with to get working correctly. But as it stands, very proud of it, and I would love for people to give it a try, give it a test, create a story. No stress, but it really is a lot of fun. Share it with your friends, and let me know what you think. Any questions from the chat? It's been a little quiet over there, but if anybody's got questions about this, I'd love to answer them.
Or if you're not yet ready to ask any questions, just go and try it on out, and then feel free to post your questions to us, and we'll answer them.
Yes, and 100% there are no silly questions when it comes to this. That's one of the things with UI design is it's really hard to make a UI that is intuitive. Like, it's very difficult. And so I don't really know until other people try it if something is confusing or obtuse. And so if you have questions, if something feels weird or just doesn't seem to flow right, let me know and I can consider it, and I can see if changing it might feel more natural. Looks like we have a question. Is there preset story prompts? There's not preset story prompts. One idea I did have was to auto-generate story prompts from Reddit, like the Reddit. I think the Reddit is just story writing prompts or something like that. Writers prompts, Reddit, writing prompts. Yeah, there it is. Which I guess I can drag over here. Yeah, so kind of one of my ideas was using this because it's just a whole bunch of writing prompt ideas, and using this as like a randomizer for creating random story prompts. I did not add that in at this point, but it may be something worth adding in. So thank you for that question. If you guys think that that's worth it, I kind of wanted to keep this up to the users, right? And so the users could be, maybe you're somebody who creates a lot of story ideas. Then you could come in here, start the story, and then see where it takes. So that's kind of the idea. Hope that answers the question.
Let's see. That's a good question.
Looks like
something good to think about.
Yeah. Thank you, Lorraine. Is that? Sorry,
Yeah, Lorraine.
It's very small on my screen. And then ISO.
Yeah, ISO.
I like the idea of. Whoop. Sorry, it keeps popping up a little thing when I try to read it. There we go. I like the idea of building up the plot towards some specific climax and somebody else takes that and adds their own spin. That changes what you planned. Yes. And that is what makes it so much fun. How do you decide where it ends? So the one thing as the creator of the Writer's Roulette, you have permission to go in and read all of the pages. By default, it will block, the last, I think it's 4 pages plus the author cooldown. So if the author cooldown is 1 page or 1 author, then it's 5 pages. If it's 5 authors, then it's 9 pages. But you, as the original author of the story, you do have the ability to say, hey, let me see all of the pages. Let me read them all and decide if we are ready to close. And if not, you can wait. And maybe some other people will continue to write into the story, progress it along enough that you're like, okay, I can see a clean finish on this story. I'm going to take over and I'm going to start writing. And so you as the author, you have ultimate say in how the story ends, in how it just how it ends and where it ends, right? One thing I don't know if I actually mentioned when we were here in the create page is here in author cooldown, there is a never option, which basically the never option means that each author can only contribute 1 page. Once you've contributed that 1 page, that's it. It is now into the world. You cannot write another page. And so it could be fun because then every single page on this story is by a completely different person. Unless, people create a second account and write another page. But still, that's besides the point. If people want to do that, people can do that. You ruin the fun at that point. But so that's just some of the things that you can do here. So any other questions? I'm really excited to see as people start to use it, what people think. So
yeah, same here.
Do you have any questions, Lars?
Do I have any questions?
Yeah, or comments?
I mean, I intend to follow up with the Choose Your Own Adventure story and just kind of get my gears turning there. One of the things that I'm excited just to see with this put into practice, especially for the Writer's Roulette, is for people to kind of get used to some mechanics that for us comes kind of like second nature now at this point because we've done them so many times. So so I will say this for anyone who wants to try it out, there will be kind of a bit of a learning curve to it, but it's absolutely worth it. So if you want to actually what I would actually recommend, this might actually be something that we'll do over on our Discord, is we might try to rally some people, be like, okay, we want to get this going, but we'll try this on now with a dedicated group. We'll give you feedback, and I think also that hopefully that helps to get other people inspired to try this out with some other friends of theirs.
Yeah,
pull them on in, and I'm thinking we could actually have some pretty good fun with this. I've already got some ideas going.
Yeah, which actually that brings up a good point. Sorry, I opened this up just in case anybody was curious what this button did. It just tells you more about what a Writer's Roulette is. But one of the reasons why I wanted to include this private option in the story creators is because I wanted people to feel comfortable, just sharing this with a friend and being like, hey, I created this. It's public. It's just between you and me. And so let's write something together, and then if they really do have just a blast with it, right, then they can come into their settings and they can make it public. Right. So this is an example of a private story, which is I put together just to test. 90% gobbledygook, and this is private, so nobody gets to see this. And if you do see it, then there was a mistake on my part. But that's kind of one of the things I really wanted to make sure and include, right? Is like some way to kind of be like, this is private. We can share this together. We can write this. It'll be so fun. And if it's like, oh, this is so funny, like, let's make it public and see if other people like enjoy it too, right? And so that's kind of the idea. That was kind of the purpose of adding that private selector. And then just to do it, I should, you know what? I'm going to write that down as a new feature. I should have a share button that copies the URL, but you would just go in and you would just copy this URL and give it to whoever. But this is actually an example of what it looks like if you've already written on a page. So this greatest race known to man, I already wrote on this, so I cannot write until 2 more people write. And then it'll be my turn again. So that's a good example of what that looks like in case anybody wants to know. Anyway, any other questions? Anything else? Any comments? Any recommendations on things I can add? Oh, real fast. I should also mention there are 2 more tabs here. These haven't been built out yet. The about is going to be pretty much just about us at Camille's Harem, the stories we've created and worked on. It'll be a good place for Lars especially to kind of have a good landing place where he can send people if they're wanting to buy some of his books. That's the purpose of the About tab. Haven't worked on it yet. The Storyboard tab, this is kind of a pie in the sky, basically a way to organize ideas on your story, kind of like a giant, the way I think of it is like, the those giant pin boards where it's like people putting pins and connecting the strings, and like in a mystery novel. But the idea of the storyboard that I have is like it's a resource for creating character backstories and like relationship webs between all of your characters, for organizing ideas, for resources for authors, kind of just like a hodgepodge of all these different things that can help your stories thrive. That's what Storyboard will be. It's kind of a very big undertaking, so I wanted to at least get these 2 things out because I felt like that's where a lot of the fun comes from. So let's see, it looks like ISO has another question here. So this is something you can create a private story for and share it with a friend group? Yes. Yeah. So the thing to remember is that anybody who has the URL for the story, right here, can add to it and write to it. Technically speaking, it's not 100% safe. So you definitely don't want to be putting anything like sensitive in there, because if somebody were lucky enough to randomly put in this string of characters, they could read your story, or if somebody somehow got a hold of that URL, they could just paste it in and get access to that story. But that should be enough privacy that 99.99% of like stories should be safe, right? Of course, also me being an admin, I could potentially go in and see the story, but I am not going to do that. That's just, obviously servers, like server monitors are able to go in and see what is happening on a server. That's just, it's internet protocol, nothing is truly private. But the only person who would be not private is me. I'm the only one who has access to these servers, and I can promise you, hand to my heart, that I am not going to go onto the servers and look at your stuff. Unless you ask me to, right? Unless you're like, hey, there was an error can you please go look at this story and figure out what's going on? Then I will always ask permission before going in. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Let's see, we have a few more comments.
Mm-hmm.
Hello there, everyone. Doing well. Oh, Nate is here today. Hi there, Nate. Hi. How are you doing today? Let's see. And then Iso said, my brother, sister, and their friend did something like this years ago, but they write one word and then they pass it on. Oh, I've seen that. That's a lot of fun. They can create a comedy that ends up being called War of the Marshmallows.
That's amazing.
I've seen something like that on like improv.
The War of the Marshmallows.
Which is a lot of fun. So very, very similar idea, but instead of one word, you're giving entire pages. So that is Writer's Roulette and Choose Your Own Adventure, part of the Camille's Harem website. Go test it out now. Let me know what you think. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think it's a lot of fun. And I would love if other people enjoy it too. And if you don't, that's okay too.
Yep.
Any final questions before I hop off for the night?
I think I'm all set and good. Like I said, I'm going to try to see what we can do to round up some people to already start kind of play testing this with some stories. And I think that we might be able to get some good stuff going, and yeah, we'll roll from there.
Will there be a side how to use? So there is this little button that kind of gives you an idea of how it works. If you go to the landing page, there is, it kind of can funnel you into each of the pages, give you some featured stories here. And then this is just like a short little blurb on how things work. And so that's kind of a how to use, so it tells you a little bit about the community, tells you how it works, pick a feature, jump in and start creating, and then get involved. So sign in and start writing stuff. No accounts needed to enjoy stories either. So you don't have to make an account to read like the adventures page, but you do, nor do you need an account to read like the beginning stories of a roulette. But if you want to read some of the more advanced parts of the stories, or if you want to contribute your own, then it becomes, you do have to sign in to do all those things. So you can't really do anonymous posting, but this is a safe place. And one of the reasons why I included like the reporting tools is to help keep this a safe place too. So if there is an instance of bullying or spam or anything like that, you're able to report them. I monitor the reports. It actually, when you create a report, it actually sends an email to all of the members of the Camille's Harem to let you know that there's been a report and we can check it out. And so, like I said, this is kind of a quick how to use the site as a whole. If you jump into one of the features, this I button will tell you more about how to do a roulette, which, by the way, this is the exact same thing. It's just in two places. So when you first come to the page, you get this little thing, and then you can scroll down to the things, to the cards, right? So you get the hero view, and then you scroll down to the grid of cards. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it didn't. It says you're doing great. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well too. I am doing well. It's been a crazy week for me, but I am doing much better now that it's the weekend.
Thank you. I'm just working for the weekend.
Yeah. So once again, I know I've said it like 100 times and I'm sounding like a broken record. Give this a try. see what you think. Try writing some collaborative stories together. It's really, really fun, and it's rewarding, because you don't have to feel like you're creating something perfect, because there's no way to make a story perfect when you have no idea what's going on and you just need to start writing. So it's a great way to kind of brush up on some of your writing chops, to get back into the groove. And yeah.
Yep. And just, yeah. And please again, if you want an adventure with friends, this is one of the best places to help us out with that, because this website is, as I said earlier, kind of the manifestation of one of our earliest desires, which was to help novice authors come and meet up and communicate and do stuff together, and this is one of those places that we hope to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well then, Nathan, if you need to roll out, because I know it's almost up to 9 o'clock where you are at, and you said you still have plans for this evening.
Well, I'm waiting for my brother to answer me, so I can stick on for a little bit longer. But I was helping him set up he got a little gaming handheld thing, and he's going to Hawaii next week, and so he had just asked me to help him set it up. But
okay,
he's probably still with his kids and getting his kids to bed and stuff. So I'm here until he whisks me away. So
just wait. I'm just imagining one of your brother coming, me all like, "Hi there, wee."
Yeah.
Get bridal carry you out the door as Jazzy waves goodbye.
Yeah.
Then how about if we shift gears a little bit right here? You can actually help me out then with something, Nathan.
Sure.
So one of the things I wanted to do this live stream was talk about meet cutes. Aww. And I started working on a video today, which will be looking at a specific development from not necessarily within the story, but from what a writer goes through. And I think sometimes taking that very bold move of saying, look, what I wrote, that isn't all that great. I am axing that. And maybe even sometimes it's not even like a kill your darling type thing, but it's like I wrote something I shouldn't have, or I didn't write the way I should have, and now I have to change this. So there's a web comic called Step by Step, which is just an absolutely fantastic slow burn rom-com, and I kind of wanted to start introducing this particular story to our viewers if they haven't already seen it, to kind of prime them for that later video, by having a look at the beginning of the story. And I just happened to pull on up. Just so happened, I prepped myself ahead of time for this. I pulled up a copy of the animated webcomic, the animated webtoon, to show, and I kind of want to go through it with you, and we can then talk about like what we think of this particular meet cute. And
sure, sounds good to me.
And so if you don't mind me, I'm going to swap.
Yeah, here I can end.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to pull this up right here. Now then, we got arts here. Jonah Jameson here. I am not going to attempt to do that in the iconic voice, because I am. Where's that menace, Spider-Man? And here we go. Oh, I actually had a contest idea to practice axing your darlings. How are you going to do a contest of axing your darlings? A small group of people write a minimum of 5,000 words up to 10,000, and then the word limit is reduced to a maximum of 3,000 words, and people have to reduce their stories. Oh, that's cool. That's actually a really cool idea there, ISO.
That is a really cool idea.
We'll have to try that out.
I like that.
And Spider-Man hangs out. I know he hangs out in chat. All right. I just got back from a brand new day. Hope you enjoyed yourself. So, Nathan, real quick. If we were to describe a meet cute, which is a trope, what are we talking about when we say a meet cute?
The way I've always understood a meet cute is the moment in which two romantic interests first meet, and there being an alignment of the planets, kind of an energy, right? The time slows down, the wind blows through, and that's probably far too extravagant, but just kind of the two main characters, the two love interests, their first meeting, and the initial spark of what is to build to an eventual romance. That's what I see a meet cute as.
Yeah, same here. It's all about letting the reader know, or letting the viewer know, whatever kind of audience you're dealing with. It's letting your audience know. Oh no, we just lost Nate. What happened? I've lost my number 2. Well, I'm going to wait to see if he's able to pop back on. But in the meantime, yeah, meet cute is that moment where you let the audience know that there's a special connection between these two characters. There is a chance for romance to happen. There we go.
Sorry, I got a little too closing tabs happy.
Oh no.
And I accidentally closed the wrong tab.
Oh, glad that you were able to come back on. Now, I was just reaffirming what you were saying, that the meet cute is that moment that lets the audience know that there is a romantic connection between these two characters. No, Mimic, not Miku. Meet cute. Put this right here. And we're not talking about meat either. Like, not the kind that you eat. That's some cute meat I'm going to eat right now.
I wish it were.
That's just kind of sad, actually. Think about the cute little cow that you're now devouring and makes such a delicious burger. No, the meat.
Oh, I like it more that way.
I have someone else's very traumatizing story I could share right now, but I'll save that maybe for later. Sorry here, Nate. I got a call coming in real quick. Mind if I answer that? And
sure, I'll entertain for a second. Speaking of meats and cutes, but meat as in MEAT, the thing you eat. I grew up in a more rural town where we had a lot of livestock near me. I never raised any livestock myself, but my neighbors did. And one year they were raising cattle, and they offered us some of the cattle that they had raised. And so we were like, yeah, we would love that, fresh, grass raised cattle sounds great. And they and we, obviously, having the cows close to our house, we got to interact with them often, but they bring over like a laundry basket full of meat, just like wrapped up in parchment, and on the basket it says the cow's name, which is Stormy. And we also had a dog named Stormy. And so we get this basket and all the meat is labeled Stormy, and we're like, no, Stormy.
Oh my gosh, that's a little traumatizing.
Yeah, and so that's my story about cute meat.
Cute meat. Oh wow. Okay, no, I'll then quickly share mine. Luckily, nothing bad. I've learned when the family calls it in the middle of a stream, it's usually like emergency. Luckily, nothing too bad.
Okay.
No, so the story is not mine. It comes from a friend of mine who lived on a ranch, and he had this calf that his parents gave him to raise and everything. His calf was named Buddy. And one day when he came home from school, his dad was grilling up some burgers and just handed him a burger without saying anything. He's like, "Here you go." Well, just like, "Here you go, son." He's like, "Oh, sweet." So he went to chomp down the burger. As he went out to then look for his calf wasn't anywhere. And then his older brother was all like, "How you like that burger? How you like that Buddy burger?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's just me." Not even letting the kid know. It's like, "Hey." So
Yeah.
remember that calf that we told you to raise? We probably should have told you not to get too attached to it.
Yeah. You must have been horrified. I was not that horrified. We thought it was just a very funny coincidence. But my sister was horrified another time. Same neighbors. They told us they had decided to raise turkeys one year for Thanksgiving. And so they were like, "Hey, come on over and we raised you a turkey for your Thanksgiving dinner." So for those of you not in America, I'm sure you know about Thanksgiving through Hollywood and stuff like that. But just for safety's sake, once a year we have turkey. I don't know why turkey. It's probably my least favorite meat. But we celebrate the maybe I shouldn't say that. We celebrate us stealing all of the indigenous land.
We celebrate miscommunication as the Native Americans who first met with the Pilgrims. We're actually asking the Pilgrims very nicely to join them in killing their neighbors. Pilgrims misunderstood. The Pilgrims were also pacifists, so they never would have done this. And disease and war eventually wiped out all of the neighboring tribes.
Yes. Thanksgiving. We give thanks to the indigenous people we stole their land from. Anyway, turkey is a very large bird, as Art said. Very big.
And really aggressive.
Yes. Very aggressive. But anyway, this is all to say, so they're like, "Okay, we'll send my little sister, who was, I think, 8 or 9 at the time, down to pick up the turkey." My mom was thinking, "Oh yeah, they've probably have it all prepared and ready to go." Sure enough, she shows up and they're like, "All right, pick one out." And they take her back to the turkey pen where they are all still alive. And she, at 9 years old, had no idea that she was about to see how turkeys are slaughtered.
Oh.
And so, like, a few hours later, she comes home with this turkey all wrapped up, all defeathered, ready to go, in a plastic bag in the wagon, and she is just sobbing, like, just so distraught about, like, all of this, because she was not prepared for that, and it was poor girl. So
that is traumatic.
All birds are criminals. That's all I gotta say. They all work for the bourgeoisie.
Yeah. Those birds and their bourgeoisie affiliations, that they're right up there with farmers. You know, that's what that I just gotta say is that's one of my favorite that's one of my favorite things that people overlook when it comes to Marxism. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels hated farmers. I think because they didn't know where food came from.
Oh,
Like
that's funny.
they hated farmers. It's really ridiculous. So after World War II, there was a concerted effort to scrub that fact from the history.
How
But
interesting.
yeah, fun. Yeah, fun random factoid. I remember learning. I'm like, wait, what? What? Why? Anyways, coming back to the meat cute. So right here we got our main character. We got one of our two main characters, David, 30-year-old dude who has absolutely wrecked his back. The
Been
glory
there.
days of the 20s are gone. Yeah, you can't. Unfortunately, I still remember how you and Jazzy brought that special pack to help you out with your back when we went to Japan.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that. But yeah, so David, our good man David, he's got back problems. And so when he goes to the chiropractor, this is where the meet cute is going to happen. So I will play a little bit of this, and I want us then to kind of once we've watched this, begin breaking it down. What about this kind of begins to wink and signal to the audience that there's a romantic or a possible romantic connection between them. Is this something that we would say that's cute and endearing, or is the author maybe getting a little bit clever with how he or she is trying to pull off this meet cute? So here we go.
Snap your back while reaching for a sock under your bed. Let's just get this over with. In, crack, out, dignity intact.
David Liu, 30 years old, graphic designer, condition, lower back pain.
There is no dignity at the chiropractor.
Name?
David Liu, I made an appointment a few days ago.
Take a seat. The doctor will see you soon.
Don't draw strangers, don't draw strangers. Why am I drawing strangers?
David Liu?
Huh? Whoa. She's cute. Sorry, hi! Yes, that's me!
Wow, you still look like you'd lose a fight with a backpack.
Wait. Ronnie? Is that you?
Ding ding! Took you long enough.
It's been a while. You're,
A chiropractor. What are you waiting for? Come on in.
All right. So there's
Real
our
fast.
yeah.
That reminds me of a story. No dignity at the chiropractors. I have definitely let out a handful of farts while getting my back cracked.
I believe that. I do believe that.
There's one move. I don't do chiropractors too often. I don't think that they're as awful as some people make them out to be. At least my chiropractor that I went to kind of melds chiropractics with physical therapy, which is how a chiropractor should do it. Just cracking your back and sending you home isn't really going to do things. It's just a Band-Aid fix.
Mhm.
But I don't go too often now because one of the specific moves they did actually ended up hurting me quite a bit.
Mm.
The rest of them were great, but that one specifically was pretty rough. But one of the moves that they do, they have you like kind of lay on the edge of the table, and I think it's called the pretzel. Like, it even sounds like a wrestling move, right? And they have you kind of roll over so that your opposite leg is like going across your body, and like then he like kind of pushes your shoulder back, stretches your leg over your stomach, and then he friggin' WWE slams you onto the table to like crack your back. And that one I definitely may have needed a new pair of underwear afterwards.
Oh,
Not actually. I mean, I'm being dramatic, but
yeah. Still, I personally fear going to the chiropractors mostly because I really don't like the sensation of popping joints. But the other one is yes, farts. Because
yeah.
I mean, unless I get it all out of the system earlier on, like that's what the morning stretches are there for. Morning stretches are there not only to limber up your body, but to get all the gas out, so that way you're not dropping bombs when you go to work.
Yeah. I work from home, so I can drop bombs all day long. Nobody cares. But to answer your original question, which was at what point do you realize that this is a meet cute? Are you ready for me to answer it, or did you have something else you wanted to
well,
follow up?
I want to hear your answer, Nate.
Okay. My answer is the moment in which it was like, wait, Ronnie? This moment right here. Like, I think beforehand, the way it was like angled, very like sexually charged, right? In the sense of like, oh, like definitely kind of giving those like mommy vibes, right?
Yeah.
She's cute. Like, you know, obviously that was all building up, but I think the moment in which it like really sold, this is a meet cute, is a wait, we have a past relationship. What a coincidence. You know what I mean? That's when it was like, this is a meet cute.
Mm-hmm. Yep. NTV count. The comic is step by step. You can find it on webcomics. And I guess I should also say that the person who put together this little like somewhat animated video is Speakos. The description and link is in the description for this video. But yes, absolutely. Like, and here's and actually, Nathan, I think that's actually really good that you bring up, for instance, that at first you have kind of like the angle, the presentation, like as David's there, he's waiting for his turn, and then he's addressing, looks up, and oh, beautiful, like a beautiful girl, like the angle and everything that he says, like there for the sexual tension. And there's plenty of writers and stories who communicate that, but it's not necessarily a meet cute when you're just all like slab of meat. Instead it is conveying that possibility of romance. Romance is a whole lot more than just the physical, and so we've got, so he's like, oh, cute lady responds with a tease, but then like right here, like the connection. Oh, Ronnie, that's you. Like, I have a personal connection to this person. I'm all a blushing because cute person, and oh my gosh, they recognize me, and now I feel really embarrassed.
Yeah. Also, I love the fact that she just glances past the fact that she is missing two legs, or that she has what's the word?
She's a double amputee.
Yes, thank you. I was like, I don't think peg leg is the right thing to say here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a chiropractor, yeah. You know, and so then that kind of adds like an extra layer of mystery of like, oh, there's more behind this, you know, behind like their shared history. Like, obviously he's not aware of that aspect of her. And so there's more mystery to explore between the two characters, which then builds a lot of excitement towards like learning, you know, like, oh, this character, they're like, even though they have a shared past, there's a lot about their past that they don't know about each other. You know, and then that brings us to, I can see here, 12 years since graduation, yada yada. So it's like, obviously now it's going into some of that shared past, or not the shared past, but the split past, right? And so the fact that they have a foundation, but that foundation is not fully explored, I think, is what really makes it so that it draws the reader in to wanting to explore more of this, which is the idea of the meet cute, right? Is to help you kind of build interest in their relationship right off the bat as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And also, I also have been there before. Like, wow, that woman's cute. Wait, I know her. It's a very embarrassing story that happened to me at the Ren Fair, actually this year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, absolute facepalm moment.
Maybe I should share my real life meet cute that I had.
Ooh, yeah.
With my wife. Basically, we both worked at Barnes and Noble for a while, right? She was just doing a like holiday season, and I was working there full time. The same day, there's two women who started at the same day. And I remember going up and introducing myself to them, and my wife's name is Jasmine. And I was like, okay, Jasmine, like Princess Jasmine. Like, I can remember that because she's really pretty. So the pretty one is Jasmine. The other one is the other one, right? And so that is how I remembered when my very first time meeting my wife was like, the pretty one is Jasmine, like the flower, like the princess. I can remember that. That's easy to remember. And then over time, we had more instances in working together, and we were able to kind of build a bit of relationship. Found out she was married, was devastated because I was like, oh my gosh, she is so much fun to talk to. She's cool. She's intelligent. She is cute. And she's married. Damn it. And then years go by. We don't keep in contact with each other. And then we reconnect online. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if you remember me. We used to work at Barnes & Noble. We rarely got to work together because I was always in the mornings. You were always at the afternoons. And so we didn't get a ton of time to work together. But I don't know if you remember me. And she was like, oh my gosh, I remember you. And then it just, went from there. So it's, meet cutes happen in real life. You rarely know that that's what's happening, right? And I think that's one of the things that that writing gets wrong, is in the moment, a meet cute doesn't always feel like a meet cute. And Hollywood makes it like so obvious that that's what's happening, but in the real world, you're oblivious usually, which you could definitely use to your advantage. That dynamic.
Oh yeah. Well, and this actually, and so this actually leads me to answer a question that Lorraine had posted earlier about if there was any, if there were any meet cutes, for instance, in the game Deltarune. And one of the things with the game Deltarune is that there's a whole lot more of like clues of like, oh, this might, like, because you're discovering the relationships of these characters as the player who's kind of invaded the story. Like, we're hopping into the middle of it, or more towards the end, in all honesty, and only getting snippets of the truth for all these characters. And as far as like meet cutes within within the story, The one that I know I can definitively say was a meet cute doesn't actually happen in the game itself, but it happened in one of the side stories that Toby Fox posted. And that is when Noelle gives Susie a pencil. And it's a meet cute that ties into the first girl trope and everything like that. But but coming back around to what Nate said about how like Hollywood and so many stories make it very obvious that then like this is where the romance is going to go. Deltarune shakes things up by presenting that Susie might actually get together with Chris, or that Noelle could end up together with Chris. So even though you have the meet cute and you have the very powerful first girl trope all in action, romance isn't guaranteed. And that's one of the things that can make a meet cute really interesting and engaging in retrospect. When the characters aren't immediately like, we're going to now be an item, or where characters might end up actually getting together with someone else. And that doesn't take away from the meet cute itself, but rather instead the meet cute is just the wink and the nod to the audience of there's a romantic connection between these two characters. They could go somewhere. And it all then comes down to how you as the author build up that relationship. And that's actually one of the things I do like about Step by Step is that step by step, as the story goes on, you realize that there is very quickly a hindrance to possible romance between these two characters. And that adds to some of the drama, and that actually ties into the video that I hope to release next week about what the author Peach88 did with this story, with one of the redactions that they made
right there,
because they took they leaned in to what the obstacle would be, and then they're like, no, sorry everyone, even though we know we already released the chapter and there's already now been an animatic video made of it and all that stuff, this actually isn't the direction that the story needs to go. I'm yoinking that back and I'm going to give you something else. Because like we went too hard and heavy into what that obstacle to David and Ronnie's relationship could be, or what could potentially stop that romance. Instead, I'm going to spend more time developing these characters and developing the fact that they could become romantic. And so like that's getting into the mechanics of writing right there. That you don't, just because you're setting up a romance doesn't mean that you need to immediately engage and go full throttle. Sometimes it's a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more interesting to take your time getting there. Also, Nate Mimic says that that was a sweet and adorable story.
I saw that. Yeah, thank you. I was just typing out a response. I was gonna say it showed off that move that got me to toot right in front of like in the chiropractor's face. That one where it's like brace for impact. That's the one. That's also the one that really hurts. At least hurts me. So that's usually when I go, I request that they don't do that one because it is a little painful. Especially for my back, which I have a fracture in my lower lumbar, and so it can be quite painful. But I actually really enjoyed the rest of that scene. I got completely distracted, Lars, while you were talking because the scene was playing and I was watching the scene.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was probably a bad idea on my part. I'm like, I'm just going to continue playing this.
Yeah. So I was watching that and not listening to a word you said, so I apologize.
Oh, that's absolutely okay. That's what the future video is all there for. Getting into the mechanics of this, because the author, like, again, that just because a meet cute happens does not guarantee romance. You as the author are supposed to naturally build up what the relationship between these characters could be. And the author and illustrator of Step by Step Peach 88 actually leaned a little bit too soon for their taste into what one of those obstacles would be to David and Ronnie getting together, and then took that chapter back and then rewrote everything to like remove all that tension and whatnot, because they're like, yeah, that's getting a little bit heavy a little too soon. Like, let's spend some time still developing these characters and developing their relationship, because once that heavy moment is introduced, it absolutely changes the story.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you got to consider as an author, especially as an author who's trying to craft a good romance, is that, again, just because you've given that wink and the nod to the audience doesn't mean that that's the signal to go full steam ahead. And sometimes you get a whole lot more out of a story by taking your time, or by introducing various obstacles or other options. But that will end up also having an effect on the story overall. So, like, this is the mechanics of writing. This is learning what pieces to use, or if we go back to one of your far earlier analogies, it's like making a meal. Different spices, different ingredients. Just because you're making curry, not all curries are the same, and you can easily change up the taste and the level of spiciness to a curry depending on the ingredients that you use. So even though you say I'm writing a rom-com, that rom-com could become very different very quickly depending on what you decide to add to it. And I'd say that the author realized I made things maybe a little too spicy, not like sexy spicy, but like intense spicy, a little too soon. I want my curry to taste delicious, and then for the heat to hit you after you've swallowed.
Yeah. Well, and I think you also made a good point that it's like the meet cute doesn't need to be specifically for the end game romance, right? I believe that writing is, or at least like writing a good romance is all about buildup, and the buildup is directly proportional to the payoff. And one of the things you can do, right, is have, micro payoffs that actually end up feeding into the buildup. And what I kind of mean is like and I'm trying to think if there's a legitimate example that I can to point to, but none are coming to mind right now. But like having a character like chase off, Finn from Adventure Time. There's a good example.
Okay.
Like a character who continually is trying to make relationships work, but they never work, right? And that can build and build and build until the person finds that right person, and then it clicks and it snaps into place. And that buildup, right, of finding the right person, not just finding a person, right? Because in a way that's its own payoff, but building up to finding the right person is the absolute ultimate payoff, right? And so the more you build into that, the more that payoff finally is. And that's one of the things in one of my projects that I really want to explore. And it's definitely a balance, because you don't want to pay off too much and then have the character or have the readers be upset that you broke them up, right? And also, sometimes your story needs to take you need to axe your darlings, right? If you put two characters together and they have really good chemistry and they are perfect, you need to just let it be. I can't tell you how many stories I've just walked away with disappointed because they took such a great pairing and ended the pairing just so the main two characters could get together. Star vs. the Forces of Evil, 100%. That is atrocious what they did to Kelly. That's all besides the point. the thing that I want to do with my story is continually try and build up these relationships with one of the characters, where it's not healthy. It keeps butting heads, right? Where it's just like, things aren't working out, but he's trying, they're trying, nothing seems to work until you finally get that final click. And since I'm not talking about what story this is, I can kind of spoil a little bit of it. At the end, it's one of the person who finally clicks together is one of the people who were on the opposite side of the conflict, who ends up realizing just how wrong they've been the whole time and coming over to their side. And then that's the person they click, right? And at first, the initial meeting is, I hate this person, and it's the enemies to lovers, right? But like that build up, the main character going through trying to start relationships, trying to have a relationship, just failing over and over and over again, only for him to fall in love with his enemy. Beautiful. Love it.
Yep. So here we got a question from Keel Lawrence. What if you wanted a romance that wasn't going to work out? How would you manage relationships that leave readers going, I wish this happened, for something you knew was doomed? Good work as always. Excellent question there. It all depends. So I'm going to give you a very frustrating answer, but please bear with me. It all depends on the romance that you are writing.
Mm-hmm.
So
and the characters,
yeah. So
especially.
I've got a couple of doomed romances in some of my stories, some that I'm currently writing and some I'm planning on writing. For one of the doomed romances, I will say this, that the reason why the romance is doomed is because one of the people in that relationship was never fully committed. And I make it a point in the story that getting into that relationship, not being fully committed, is not okay. And that causes all kinds of problems. And so and one of the tragic things about it is that the chemistry is there. The potential is there. But that's one of the ways to make it work, is that just people are not fully committed. And this unfortunately happens all the time in real life. And it's one of the things that makes this particular story feel way more personable, way more realistic, and just frustrating. Like, I am the writer, and I want to punch this guy because I'm just like, dude, don't you realize what you had? I'm like, wait, I'm the one who's writing this. So that's one way. That's one way of making it not work out if the characters are not fully committed. Another is that characters can be committed, and then they just make really bad mistakes, or
100%.
they grow apart. And so that can be really, really tragic. And actually, the very first thing that pops into my head, it's not a story per se, but it's the song Star Sky at the end of the album from Two Steps from Hell, Battle Cry. And that entire album gives you this feel, almost kind of like the Odyssey, of these men trying to get home. And it's this very dark yet triumphal album with just moments of defeat and moments of triumph, moments of journey and horror. And then the very end, you get this beautiful song that is kind of a duet between the chorus and the verses. And if you're paying attention, you realize that like this feels like two people reuniting after a long journey, and one of them is still madly in love with the other, but the other can't return it anymore because of the journey that they've gone through. And it's beautifully tragic. So like that's one thing that you can also do to create a doomed relationship, is just how the characters grow as a result of the plot. another thing that pops into mind is Wheel of Time with Matt. What's her name? I think it's Alondra, I think it's Alondra. As far as pairings go for Matt should have gone together with Alondra, the cannon maker, because those two had just perfect chemistry. And they together, they are like a power couple in terms of like changing the world and the war in that story. But the plot demands that he ends up with someone else. I'm like, dang it! No.
The kind of what you said about making mistakes. The one thing in real life, romance lives and dies by communication. How well you communicate, how well you talk and openly talk, and what you hide and don't hide, that is what makes or breaks a romance or a relationship, any relationship, whether it's romantic or not, right? And so what I would say is, if you want a romance that is destined to fail, they have too many secrets. They have too much that they don't want to say. They are too afraid to be honest and talk about things. As much as I hate that they broke up, this example being Finn and Flame Princess from Adventure Time, as much as I hate that they broke up, I think it was actually a very realistic way to watch a relationship fall apart. And it was literally just Finn was stubborn, didn't communicate. And yeah, that was his bad. And he didn't really work to try and remedy it better, remedy the situation. And so in that way, it's like, it's realistic. They did a good job of kind of showing, yeah, you messed up, Finn. And you shouldn't have done that. And then Finn hasn't had the character growth yet to realize that he needs to communicate if he wants to put this relationship back together, but instead he doesn't. He lets it just fade off, right? And so in that way, it's like, that's some good writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate that happened, because their relationship was my favorite, and I wish they could have gotten together. But
yeah, no,
I do think
Flame Princess was great.
It was great while it lasted, right? And so, yeah, communication and honestly, if you want to make complex characters, you need to give them secrets, you need to give them lies, and you need to give them things that will bring them down. You have to give them mistakes. And the more mistakes and the more lies and the more secrets that two characters have from each other, the more that their relationship is going to fracture, no matter what. You cannot have a good relationship unless they are communicating well. Mm-hmm. That is what chemistry is, the ability to communicate effectively, right?
Yes. And I want to build a little bit on what you said right there in terms of like using the example of Adventure Time, because of the most recent season that we got of Fiona and Cake, which a large part of that is the relationship between Finn and now Huntress Wizard. And in this latest season, we get to see that problem of miscommunication rear its ugly head once again, but this time it's now coming from Huntress Wizard, because she's got these secrets, painful experiences that she doesn't wish to relive or to repeat, and she fears repeating these with Finn. And the irony is that by not sharing those experiences with Finn, she is repeating them. And
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful moments of the season is when Fiona has the chance to go to meet Finn in his headspace through all kinds of magical wonkiness, which is actually really cool. And in adult Head's mind, it actually goes back to teenage Finn, and he's just hiding. He's just hiding in a chest of of things deep within his mind and heart that he holds very dear. And so he's surrounded by things from Jake and from Simon, and then also there's Huntress Wizard's flute, right there. These are representations of people who are very dear to Finn, but but like you find out that he's just like, I've been burned so often, and he's like, I don't know if anyone will ever really love me the way that Jake did. How do I connect? And Fiona is just like Huntress Wizard loves you, and he's all like, nah, she doesn't. Like, he's like, I've got feelings for her, but she's never expressed them the same way to me. And Fiona's like, you have no idea what I've been going through this season to try to get you two back together, or what Huntress Wizard's been doing this whole season to try to get back to you. And she's like, yeah, she's a dummy because she's not communicating. And so finally, by the end of the season, Huntress Wizard has to find in her own way to be able to express to Finn just how much she cares, and that relationship, which has been suggested to kind of be on and off all these years, can finally start going in the right direction. And coming back around early, it's like, yeah, you know what? Who was Finn's first crush? It was Princess Bubblegum, and and like, oh man, how far have we come from that?
Yeah. Could you imagine if that actually landed? Like, what a mess that would have been.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, no, those two are not right for each other romantically. No. Also, I feel like PB's got way more to work out.
Oh, 100%. She is a psycho.
Yeah. She really is. I love that Peppermint Butler like really steps up later on in the story. It's like Pep, you're demented, but you actually have a far more solid head on your shoulders.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really have shoulders, but yeah.
Yeah, you've got far more solid head on your legs.
Yeah. Well, I gotta hop off, but this has been a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out on the Discord for more information about the website. I will, at some point this weekend, I want to post on there. I do have a list of kind of like testing guidelines for testing the site. If anybody's interested, no stress. Seriously, go out there, play with the Camille's Harem website, and let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see changed or updated or whatever else it may be. And with that, I'm going to sign off. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time, Nate.
No problem. It was fun to be back on for a bit.
Oh yeah, you're on for more than just a little bit. Like, you've been here for nearly the whole stream. So
that's true. Yeah, it's hard to find the time to come do these, and so it's nice when I do have a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Again, as the single guy here, I am blessed and cursed with copious amounts of time. Well, not so copious, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. You have a wonderful night, Nate. Thank you so much.
It's great to talk with you all as well in the chat. Thank you.
Yep. Hope you'll be able to do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll try and find some time in the future, and I'll let you know.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Night. All right. Let's see here. Then kind of pick up right here. Yeah. So please, I'll make sure that the link for the website is put directly into the stream's description, and also kind of update it on the banner for our channel, so that way people have easier access to it, to go and check it out. But yeah. So coming back around to this step by step, I'm excited to work on that to work on that particular video, to follow up video for this. But I highly recommend that that everyone who hasn't yet read this take some time and go and check this out. You'll be able to knock this thing out in less than an hour, I guarantee. But it is just such a dang cute read. I put it so well earlier. It's like they're just so darn cute. Also, I think it was was it Mimic who was like, this is what I've back pains. This is what I have to look forward to in my 30s. Just take good care of yourself. Do your stretches. Pay attention to your body, and you'll be very surprised what you're able to do. Say, as a guy who is 37 years old. I'm 37. I'm not old. I luckily do not have to deal too often with back pains, and I chalk that up to lifting things with my knee, like lifting things properly. Bend your knees and lift with your legs. That is how I've been able to avoid most back problems as I'm getting older. And do not be like David and just veg out in front of the television and then overstretch to get the controllers. It is very good to just stand up and walk. And I also brought up earlier about how he's got some unfortunately bad genes, which lead to lower back pains while wielding swords. You know what? I would never have thought that until actually working. We're like doing a little bit of sparring myself. Also, there's certain exercises where you feel like you are just utilizing just like your upper body strength, and then you come to find out just how important your lower back is. There's so many muscles that run through that spot that help to maintain your balance as you're working out, especially as you're moving. If you're going to be very athletic, so yeah, take care of your lower back. Heel Lauren says 37 is nothing. Keep up the stretching, though. That advice is gold. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And just keep yourself physically active, which is difficult this time of year for me down in Tucson because it is so dang hot. And also our glorious monsoon, which had a very promising opening, has been interrupted by a 2-week long heat wave. It is so bad. Like right now, it's probably still 100 degrees outside, and it's dark. Wait, Ms. Lars, you're 37? Yeah, I know. Most of my students were all when I was teaching would be surprised to find out how old I actually was because I happen to have inherited all of the right European genes where I look far younger than I actually am, especially if I shave. If I shave, I take off like 10 years. But yeah, so take good care of yourself. And that's actually something that is also kind of nice and appreciated in the story of Step by Step, is that you actually do get some good advice. Like there's actually some solid workout advice in the story about like being able to push yourself, the fact that you got to do stretches, immediately see to sore spot, like sore muscles, knowing when to take it easy. Also eating healthy. Eating healthy is going to help you out with so many things in the long run. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water and plenty of milk, as long as you're not lactose intolerant. But and don't sit like a question mark. I've got bad posture when I sit, so I definitely need to work on that. But yeah, no, it's just such a dang good story. I wish it got updated all the more. But you know what? I will let Peach. I will let Peach 88 take their time in writing because you want that quality. Now then, I will though add the little asterisk to that of you should also not take too much time. I'm looking at you, George R. R. Martin. You can't fool me. I know what's been going on there. I thought high school stayed in high school. Dot dot dot. That reminds me, I am going to be taking it upon myself to try to organize uh, a high school reunion for this year because I'm like, you know what? We're coming up on nearly 20 years since graduation, and I want to do a tailgate party for homecoming, and definitely don't eat past 12 a.m. anymore. I don't know. I still do that sometimes if I'm feeling bad. Alrighty. Let's see here. Say we've been going on now for nearly 3 hours, and for a change, my voice isn't completely wrecked because I wasn't the only one talking. It's one of the nice things about having other members of the harem show up is that I can preserve my voice a little bit more. But let's see here, because I still do want to get to my own writing tonight, and I know some of you are getting up there pretty late wherever you're at. Let's see about doing one more thing. I got a question for you all. What would you rather get in terms of story time? Would you rather hear me read the first chapter of Debunked? I just dropped a video recommending Debunked and its follow-up book, Thug Wallop, part of the Terror Venom Chronicles. And I know that video didn't get a whole lot of views, but I'm going to go to bat for that series because it's just so much fun. So would you like to hear me read the first chapter of Debunked, or would you like to hear in very raw form the very opening to one of the books that I'm right now working on? I'm working on my sequel to the Monarch Mercenaries. So you can either choose very opening to Monarch Mercenaries or number 2 or Debunked. What would you guys like in terms of story time? Tyler Goodman says, did you hear that Wonder Man Season 2 has been canceled when it was about to get the green light? Really? I don't know too much about Wonder Man. Oh, wait a second. I know I saw something about this. I don't know Wonder Man. I haven't seen it. But yes, I did actually see something online about it being canceled. Killorn says, let me ask a question before it gets too late. Have you seen You and I Are Polar Opposites? I think it shows some good examples of evolved relationships rather than people working to a relationship. I have seen a good chunk of season 1 of You and I Are Polar Opposites. I really need to finish up the first season and then catch up with the second season. Love what I've seen of the first season. And what so we got one vote for the opening to Monarch Mercenaries number 2. All right, we got one vote right there. But returning to my response to you, Keel Lawrence, what I really like about You and I Are Polar Opposites is how it shows that opposites can indeed attract. And one of the neat things about this is that about its particular take, which I think is very healthy and a very good approach for it, is that it's not that, oh, you're so very different from me, therefore I'm now attracted to you, like the whole good girl to bad boy or good boy to bad girl attraction is what people almost immediately think of, or how the Christian and the atheist somehow get together, which is actually not too uncommon in real life. Just going to say so. But what I like about how so Lorraine gives one vote for Debunked. Okay, so we got a tie between Debunked and Monarch Mercenaries. But what I like, one of the things I like that You and I Are Polar Opposites does is that it shows how very different people can end up really liking each other. And it's either through shared experiences, through shared interests, or and not even like, oh, you and I share the same hobby, but a shared interest of like, you know what, I kind of want to get to know you. I also kind of want to get to know you. Sweet. Let's hang out a little bit, and then suddenly the sparks start flying in the best way possible, and then you get together. Or it's just or I can't. I'm so bad with these characters' names, but you got the one guy who's like really exuberant, really extrovert, who then falls for the librarian girl. And what I really like about that is how for him he's just like, oh, I'm just so used to girls always acting this way around me. This girl acts different, and I kind of like that. And the more that he gets to see her, the more he gets to know her, he's like, oh my gosh, she's really cute. She's also really talented. I would really like to get to know her better. And the two of them have difficulty communicating because they communicate so very differently. It's part of their personalities and just the way that they've been living throughout high school. Yeah, Yama's the extrovert and his love interest is Nishi. Yeah, no, I just absolutely love the dynamic there because it feels very earned. It's a very earned romance between two seemingly polar opposite characters, but yet there is a shared interest. There are shared interests in the desire to communicate and connect, in art, and from there it's just two little things that's like that. Like, how do you build a relationship on that? The answer is by giving it time, by giving them more chances to communicate, to interact, to get to know one another. And that is what builds up the relationship. I think one of the things that I know I ran into as a starting up author, especially because I like the idea of opposites attract. I always thought that the opposites attract worked best when like they would provide something that the other one didn't have. We complement each other like yin and yang working together. But while that's one way you can approach it, it feels, again, the relationship feels way more earned when characters work to make it happen. And that's again where the communication comes in, where the shared experiences, shared interests, and how these characters interact with each other and with what the plot throws at them. That's one of the things I think is very important in terms of building up a good, solid romance, is that it's not just simply, hey, we're going to somehow find ways of making these characters get together, but it is showing how these characters work together in light of what the plot does to them. And that is where you get to see character development really come into play, and where you can then have honest interactions between them that are not just setups put together by the author to facilitate juicy conversations or juicy interactions. Nick says, yep, opposites to attract, kind of like ketchup and chocolate ice cream. Sigh, how romantic. I'm not sure if I'm yet ready to put ketchup on my chocolate ice cream, but Cool Ranch chips go very well with vanilla ice cream. Thing is this, you do not put them together in the same bowl. You eat a handful of Cool Ranch chips, you then take a couple of bites of ice cream, and it's just absolutely wonderful. But everyone has always misunderstood me when I bring this up, and so one time at an ice cream eating competition, I had an entire bag of Cool Ranch chips crushed and mixed together in my ice cream that I had to eat because everyone's like, oh, you like this so much. Let's see you actually eat it. And I did, and it was okay, but I was just like, oh, you're missing out on the experience, man. You're supposed to first eat the chips, then eat the ice cream. You weirdos. All right, so with the tie between Debunked and Monarch Mercenaries, let's see what is it that people want. Do you want to hear some of my writing, or do you want to hear some other person's writing? Say, make your choice quick, or I will be forced to flip the coin of decision making. Which, I mean, which doesn't say a whole lot because I don't exactly have a camera going for me to show it off, but oh, say real quick while you guys are making a decision, I need to let people know there will be no live stream next week. The reason for that is because I'm going to be out of town visiting my sister, and it's going to be a good old romp there, and so I'll be taking Friday off. So Lorraine has changed her vote to my writing. So we're going to look at Monarch Mercenaries then. I will wait just a little bit to see if anyone else has got any particular vote. While I then, because it's an easy matter to go between one or the other because I got them both here. Killhorn says, I always vote for your writing. I've been working my way through your books. We are very different writers. You're a lot better. Well, thank you. I admire how your passion shines. Keep it up. Well, thank you so much, Killhorns. So yeah, everyone's got a very different writing style when it comes down to it, and I've definitely been working on mine, and with now a decade under my belt of active writing, I am getting better. Still make plenty of mistakes, but I am trying to improve. Okay, let me take a drink. I've got my rough draft for the sequel to Monarch Mercenaries ready to go. Let me take a drink of water here. Don't worry, you're not alone, Mr. Lars. I sometimes dip my French fries into my vanilla ice cream and eat it. The combination is classic. Oh, it absolutely is a classic. And I know for some people that to get that classic to perfection, they go get French fries from Wendy's and then have that with vanilla ice cream. All right, so here we go. The very first chapter of Monarch Mercenaries, number 2. The realms swirled past Captain Carsonius as he stood under the glow of the great tree. Colors across the spectrum and beyond human imagination washed over him and the Monarch Dragon as it flew alongside a manifested star line. A literal connection between real hearts, forming a grand highway between hidden universes. Concepts and cosmic truths that only a few people from the origin would ever experience. It was magnificent. It was divine. It was one of the craziest things the captain knew he shouldn't be doing right then. Brandon, if I might make a suggestion, then the rest of Jeremiah's protest was drowned out by the horrendous sound and vibrations of a spell-infused cannonball slamming into the Monarch Dragon's hull on the port side. I already know I can shorten that sentence a little bit better. The chatter in Captain Carsonius's teeth even drowned out the normally reliable comwax in his ear. Constricting vines burst from the cannonball and immediately snaked around the spaceship, attempting to both constrict and tear it apart. The Monarch Dragon groaned in protest, as did the ship's computer, Kanto. It's a primitive use of a plant summoning spell, but that doesn't make it any less effective, especially with how they've advanced it with something less rudimentary. Leslin, you've got this one, the captain barked through the comms. Turn it into tossed salad or whatever. Omegas, care to stop these bastards from raking us with Care to stop these bastards from raking us off with this tin buckets. So right there, made some mistakes. I need to change that probably to these tin buckets. Anyways, what did you just call my ship? Nax screamed from the engine room as a beautiful chant emanated from the Monarch Dragon. Not your ship, 3 other voices angrily chimed in. Thankfully, Omegas didn't even bother with adding his input to the short-lived argument. Leveling his minigun at the wooden ship right across from theirs, the hulking Minotaur unleashed a murderous barrage of laser bolts. Flashes of blood red washed over the antique deck, mowing down more than a dozen aliens dressed in punked-out standard diving dress. The fishbowl helms with glowing windows for sight were particularly eerie. The opposing vessel tried to turn and round the star line, but Captain Carsonia summoned 2 massive handguns and took aim at the helm and rudder. 2 thunderous blasts resulted in the helmsman getting blasted into space, his hands still grasping the spokes. Splinters were all that was left of the rudder. Horns blared from all 3 ships in the convoy they were attacking. After tracking these peculiar vessels, dragging nets through star lines, capturing and dredging up inspiration passed from one star to another, co-captains Carsonius and Miriam had agreed to raid them as practice. Practice for their newest recruits. But even with the Monarch Dragon, 2 ancient schooners and 1 ketch outfitted with magic to sail through space were not to be taken lightly, especially with their spell-embedded cannonballs and the forwardmost schooner on the run. Miriam, hook the lead ship and drag it back, Carsonius ordered. The other ships will have to break off the star line or risk running into its rear. We can board and take at least 2 of them. Bad Batty, be ready to clear the shrouds. Yeah, baby, it's batting time. The overgrown fruit bat screeched back in the captain's ear. He hastily batted away a lead ball that had miraculously found its mark. His lean green suit was sturdy and fit perfectly to his figure, allowing him to wear an epic coat and large pirate's hat over the scaly armor. It was not well suited with a thunderous blast that nearly threw the captain to space. Carsonius had to rely on his powers of will and presence to keep his footing. A crumbling vine reached around his ankle, but vanished into mulch and dust. Nice work, Leslin, he gasped, unsure if the mage registered his praise. Captain, I highly encourage you to avoid anything that they're shooting at us, Kanto replied pleasantly. My scanners are picking up that all their outdated ordnances are laden with spells. That would have been nice to know earlier, but I know you wanted to strike the epic pose you were just doing, and you know how big of a fan I am of your incredible style. Kanto, I'm going to tear you right out of the ship's helm, and massive harpoons erupted from the Monarch Dragon's guns with an almost silly ka-chung sound. This close to a manifested starline, the normal rules of astrophysics got all screwed up with the wild imaginings that people had about space. Was Star Wars the biggest culprit in all that? The harpoon slammed into the back of the lead raider. Thick metallic cords coiled back into the spaceship, dragging the wooden vessel towards it. We've caught them, Captain, Wen cheered through the comwex. Omegas also grunted some good news. The deck is cleared, Brandon, but I know that some of them managed to scamper below deck, and it looks like the captain's cabin is reinforced from within. Good work, everyone, Captain Carsonius crowed. We'll have them in no time. One large gun swiveled around in the back and intercepted a cannonball. It exploded behind the spaceship, emanating a purple aura of electricity. It's batting time, Batty repeated as he flew out from underneath the Monarch Dragon and darted into the tattered shroud of the second raider. The large fruit bat zipped expertly through the fluttering sails and waving ropes. Blasts of high-pitched squeals were greeted with stunned figures dropping out of the shrouds, landing painfully on the pockmarked deck. Carsonius heard Miriam try and fail to suppress a groan. Leaving a future argument right where it belonged, he bellowed the command to bring the Monarch Dragon right alongside the raider. Omegas unslung a large plasma cannon and fired 6 rounds into the open gun ports. Just as many cannons, all loaded with nasty surprises, found themselves jammed with sticky green goo. The 2 ships made contact, bumping softly into each other. Colorful energy sprayed up from the starline like water. Carsonius had to pull his eyes away from the contents of the powerful stream. Dozens of dreams and thoughts passed by in a mesmerizing second, any of which could completely seize his thoughts and cause him to walk right out into space. It was one of the many reasons why fighting inside or in the close proximity of a starline could be abnormally hazardous. Turning to the other 2 new recruits of the Monarch mercenaries, the captain roared, "Jump aboard quickly. Spare any who surrender. We want what they're harvesting, and then we get out of here quick." "Aye, aye, Captain," came the call. Accompanying him and Omegas were 3 eclectic characters. A sullen anime OC with a large black coat, shock white hair, and 2 pretentious, oversized swords. And then there was the towering, muscular dragon lady with a high crown of horns that got in the way of her spacesuit, fitting just right. And bringing up the rear was a hunched 6-limb android with a creepy desire to find a flesh face to cover his lack of anything resembling one. Shadlin, Gazi, and Harvester. Along with Batty, they were the most promising recruits of the small horde clamoring to join the crew that broke through the Guardian's impregnable spire and stole the All-Sight. Captain Carsonius now led his growing crew onto the enemy's ruined deck. Heads up, we don't know what to expect from these guys, he shouted as 3 oversized pixies in outdated scuba gear zipped out from below deck. They wielded small rapiers of blue energy. They closed in so fast that Carsonius couldn't get good sights on them. He absorbed the guns of his out of his hands and back into his presence, swapping them with poisonous daggers he had picked up a few days back. Simple stuff for a knight like him. Angry voices magically translated into his mind to holler, "Pirate scum! Have at you, clumsy big feet! He smells, too! Smells like a losing coward!" "Really? Describe the scent to me." Carsonius grunted as he desperately swung and parried minuscule but vicious thrusts from the pixies. "It smells like rotting flesh," the third pixie sneered gleefully. "I could smell you all the way from—" The pixie cut off with a solid whump as Gazi backhanded the creature across the deck into the main mast. But becoming a pitiful pancake was not enough embarrassment for the little hellion. Another body dropped out of the sails, scraping against the mast and peeling the pixie off, only to flatten it beneath a mound of flesh and steampunk metal. "Do try to be careful, Captain," Gazi drawled. "Trying my best," Carsonius quipped, skewering the second pixie. "Exactly how did you survive the sacking the spire?" the dragon lady asked, snatching the last flying imp out of the air. "You'll never get away with this!" The captain suppressed a sigh. The rumors about what had happened at the spire were going to really get out of hand one day. "We didn't sack the spire. We got caught, killed the hag holding us captive, and then snuck through the palace to steal what we needed. I'm suggesting you come up with a better story," Gazi snorted, tossing the pixie overboard. "Bogo will get you for this!" The small voice squealed before it got sucked up into the star line. More sailors were emerging from their hiding spots away from Omegas's earlier barrage. They unsheathed scimitars and cutlasses with blades ringed in the same blue energy as the pixies' tiny swords. An assortment of reptilian slug and 4-armed apes, all dressed in the same standard diving dress, charged the outnumbered pirates. "Master Carsonius, if I may," Shadlin asked, striking a dramatic pose with his fingers splayed before his face. "Dude, we're in the middle of a fight. Now is not the right time to ask for permission to be cool!" The captain fired back, already swapping out his knives for a chainsaw longsword and the Gut Puncher 500. It was a handy force pistol capable of knocking enemies right off open deck ships. "Then, bearing in mind the lessons and broken honor of my beloved father figure, I swear upon my blades—" Harvester rushed past Shadlin, slamming into 2 of the sailors. Their fishbowl helmets rattled from the tremendous force. The deranged robot wrested away their blades and then turned them right back on their owners. Spinning its torso, Harvester rent the 2 aliens into pieces, spraying green and orange viscera all over. "Uncouth machine! There is a way things are supposed to be done," Shadlin raged. "Precisely. Kill, quickly, collect, faces," Harvester replied in a staticky voice as it advanced on more victims. Omegas's cry drowned out Shadlin's sputtered reply. "Brandon, I'm going below deck to start moving the cargo over." "Got it. Gazi, go and watch his back," Carsonius ordered as he blasted one sailor right over the railing and down into the star line. Let me take a moment right here to catch up with some of the things I see you guys have been posting here. Don't worry. Oh, yeah, I got the whole French fry thing. Don't you also need to build up a failed relationship to show upon retrospect to show how it failed? Oh, if you're going to show a good failed relationship, absolutely, Lorraine, absolutely. Finn, Adventure Time. Finn, Adventure Time? Bat. No, it's Batten time. Finn, huh? Whenever Mr. Lars reads, it feels like you're actually there. Well, thank you. By the way, you have an impressive range, Mr. Lars. Not only are you a great author, but you'd be an awesome voice actor, too. Well, thank you. I would be a better voice actor if I could maintain voices for very long. Maintain various accents. Anywho's in. Let me take another drink of water right here. There we go. Giving her captain some cover fire, the Dragon Lady grunted and expertly moved sideways to join the hulking Minotaur. Omega slung his gun over his shoulder so he could use both hands to wrench up a large iron gate. Not gate, grate. It came up with a screech of metal and the low thunder of shattering wood. He tossed it to the side and leaped into the dark bowels of the alien ship, followed closely by Ghazi. The Monarch Dragon roared as it fired several rockets and lasers at the other two ships, knocking out their cannons. Since these peculiar fishmen used such outdated technology, it was easy for the mercenaries to blast them. Since these peculiar fishermen, not fishmen, fishermen used such outdated technology, it was easier for the mercenaries to blast them apart. The one thing Carsonius knew he needed to keep an eye out for was the magic they wielded. If Kanto wasn't going to give him a full report, he had to be cautious. Shadlin got over his initial shock at Harvester disrupting his posturing and monologue. He now wielded both of his swords in a dance with too many flips and spins, easily cutting down his opponents. Face looks good, Harvester muttered, peeling the helmet off a creature that looked like a purple gorilla, but with strange gills on its fat neck. Bogo, we'll get you for this, the alien wheezed. Who is this Bogo? Carsonius thought, amused at the dumb name. He casually blasted an opponent who tried to sneak an attack in from the side. The hapless reptilian screamed as it tumbled up and over the schooner's figurehead. A possible answer presented itself as the cabin's doors exploded off their hinges. Two figures rushed out in their steampunk diving gear, but also painted in golden stars against sparkling pink. They each wielded two blunderbusses covered in etched runes. Discharging their guns caused noxious clouds of green to wash over Carsonius, Shadlin, and Harvester. Unseen fists rained heavy blows on them, pummeling the three pirates to their knees. Don't worry, Captain. Bad baddies got you covered, the large fruit bat whooped from somewhere above. A heavy breeze washed over Carsonius, tearing the hat off his helmeted head. It also swept away the green smoke, revealing how the sailors were dogpiling Harvester, trying to tear it apart. Being an anime character, Shadlin was weathering an attack from a cutlass very well. Damn those animated bodies and the swimming pool's worth of expendable blood they carried. But Carsonius couldn't focus on that. Two opponents flanked him, seemingly stepping right out of the magical smoke. Their large axes were already in motion to relieve the captain of his head. Furthermore, one of the mages was dropping his blunderbuss and whipping out another strange gun. Weren't you just thinking to yourself that you needed to be more careful? A cold voice asked, sounding both annoyed and amused. Carsonius shivered as he stood up, using his chainsaw sword to catch one axe and start grinding away at its edge. Aseki stepped out of the shadow, impaling the second surprise enemy through the head with her own sword. Light blue blood poured down her cartoon blade. She backhanded the other sailor with a sickening crunch, just as Carsonius unleashed another blast from his Gut Puncher 500. One sparkly mage was blasted right off his feet and through the wooden wall behind him. Thanks for the save there, he panted appreciatively, taking out one guy trying in vain to bring down Shadlin. The illustrated demoness nodded, her black eyes impassive, but she growled, "The captain of this crew should be better at keeping himself safe, so that the rest of the crew can perform their tasks with the greatest efficiency." Her words were greeted by Batty prying one sailor from Harvester and throwing the alien overboard. There was another horrible sound below deck, followed by a bright light. A large orb of white energy encased multiple 5-foot clay jars and at least one chest. One of Omegas' new toys, courtesy of his husband, gently guided the booty towards the Monarch Dragon. It was shortly followed by a similar haul. I'd say that we're all doing quite well without me at the moment, Carsonius said, sidestepping a bolt of purple lightning fired by another mage. Then why should you be their co-captain? Aseki asked, gracefully unfurling her wings to leap at the offender. Because I inspire them to be their best, he fired back, expertly clearing the rest of the sailors from Harvester's back. Doing so revealed that his new recruit was not doing too well. Both of his right arms were mangled. Harvester, get back to the ship and make sure the goods arrive safely in the cargo hold. Jeremiah, Carsonius said through the comax, Our second big guy is a little rough for the wear. We'll need maintenance on him as quickly as possible. On it, Wen said. Kanto, take over my guns, will you? Roger that. By the way, the rear vessel is beginning to charge up something very weird. I'm getting a sudden spike in magical energy, but I cannot pinpoint its origin or nature. Watch out for nasty surprises! Shouldn't you have already picked up on all of these readings before we began the attack? Garsonius grumbled to himself. He and Kanto needed to realign their understanding because that scary machine still felt like he was trying to push the young captain into a corner, one where he would have to temporarily sacrifice a part of himself to pull off a contrived miracle. And where was Miriam? She was usually more vocal and active than this. Garsonius helped Harvester get to its feet, and covered for the brute as it ambled back towards the spaceship. Batty rocketed through the tangled sails once again, surveyed the battle, calling down to the others that the lead schooner was about to crash into them, something which Garsonius could easily see. However, the ketch was also gaining and trying to pull up along the starboard side. A blast of energy from the top of the Monarch Dragon cleaved like a sword through the vacuum of space. Garsonius embraced all elements of imagination with his practice mantra, there are no limits. Jumping high, he saw the arc of energy sever the ketch's forward mast and send it careening back onto the frantic crew. Nice going, Miriam. His co-captain, the girl who had once been his bitter rival, now turned unexpected ally and babysitter, stood confidently atop their ship. She had her own curved blade out, the sword reamed with white magic pulsing with a desire to be unleashed. Just as Garsonius had the ability to store and summon items within himself, Miriam was also a knight and gifted with the power to unleash cutting arcs of energy from any blade she used. Careful, Brandon. These guys are tenacious. They're actually looking to crash their own ships, she shouted back. Why would they? Whoa! Brandon cried as a lasso of steel caught his feet and dragged him down to the deck. He crashed painfully against the wooden planks. The attacking mage deflected Miriam's strike with a well-aimed shot from his blunderbuss. Blue smoke somehow fizzled out her magic. Now that's not a good sign, he thought with a cough. Aseki charged to dispatch the wizard, but his friend reemerged from the ruined cabin and engaged her with a whip emitting golden sparks. His voice echoed through the diver's helmets. If you don't want to suffer at Bogo's hands, submit to death now. I promise to show you more honor than you have us and make it painless. The sparks burned Aseki and forced her back. Garsonius snarled and charged forward, exchanging his gut puncher for a much better weapon for the occasion. Fingers curled around the handle and trigger of his new bloodlust, a black revolver continuously dripping with blood. He justified the unhygienic gun with the fact that his body dissolved whenever he forgot in his presence. Utilizing his poor academic memory, Garsonius relied on the one drawback to his special ability to keep him healthy and safe. Bang! A black bullet tore through the mage, attacking Miriam. A fountain of red blood ripped the alien in half. He spun and buried his chainsaw sword into the second wizard's helmet. The creature screamed, but quickly went limp and collapsed at his feet. Golden sparks settled onto his suit and coat, instantly burning them. Willing himself to not get too scorched, Garsonius walked right out of the fire. The weak atmosphere surrounding the star line and wooden vessels provided enough oxygen for him to breathe just fine. Master Garsonius, you must teach me how to be so cool, Shadlin gushed, causing the captain to jump. Ah! How did you get there? I walked. It's pretty simple. The anime swordsman shrugged. The rest of the enemy crew is dispatched. He nodded over to all the bodies scattered across the ship. Batty was nearby, pulling strange fruits from one sailor's satchel. His cute, murderous face beamed with excitement at finding some delicious food. Come on, Batty, there's still work to do. Garsonius snapped at the oversized bat. Brandon, why did you bring that gun? It's disgusting, Miriam said with a sniff. A simple thank you for saving me would be nice. If you think I needed saving from that poser, you got another thing coming. Shouldn't we be more worried about the catch? Aseki said pointedly, thumbing over her shoulder. Grappling hooks had flown towards and now dug into the schooner's stern. These are some very industrious scavengers, Kanto remarked. It's also surprising that the rear vessel isn't even trying to run away. Do you think that BOGO person they keep bringing up is over there? There's a leading question, Carsonius thought with a flat expression. Before he could start ordering his crew's next moves, Jeremiah trumpeted a warning. The lead schooner was fighting to maintain its course to fall back and crash into the ship they had boarded. In all the action against the sailors, Carsonius had not paid enough attention to that side of the battle. The schooner and Monarch Dragon were trading deadly shots. Brandon, Miriam, you should know that Lesson is doing her best to ward off the magical attacks they're firing at us, but one mage is not enough to stop everything. We need knights to engage them. News got worse when Omegas reemerged topside, followed by another bubble of light, carting more loot. Cradled in his arms was Ghazi. Bandages stained violet wrapped around the stump of her left arm. Miriam cried out, pulling a healing potion from a small satchel at her side. What happened? One of the bullets fired at her as some kind of rotting spell, Omegas grunted. He immediately began eating away at her arm. Then she used one of their swords to cut off my own arm, Ghazi said in a horribly pained voice. Always wanted a cool scar from an honorable battle. This! It was time to make a critical decision. Carsonius motioned towards his remaining pirates, then calling them to his side. When do you have Harvester? After a second, the boy replied breathlessly. Yes, already working on patching him up. What do you need? Get ready to receive Ghazi. Bust out all the good healing supplies we have and see what you can do to help her out. I know you got this. Nodding to Batty and Shadlin, he ordered. Anime OC goes with Miriam and takes out the guys. Jeremiah is reeling in. Leslin, I need you and Jeremiah to punch some holes into that ship. Make them skitter like ants. Batty and Aseki, you're with me. We're taking the catch. Attack from above. And Miriam, cut everyone down. Responses from the Monarch Dragon were, aye, aye, Captain. What about me? Omegas thundered. Once you have Ghazi back on the dragon, pick a fight that looks like it needs your help. Then you have as much fun as you want, Carsonius answered, holstering his bloodlust. Summon's submachine guns appeared in his hands. These boys were loaded with bullets magically designed to ricochet within the skin. Without another word, the captain broke for the rear ship, which I actually wrote as red ship. All right. Is schooner pronounced schooner or schooner? You know, it's probably schooner. Is probably the Scale Lawrence is like, yeah, schooner actually. If that didn't get answered yet, yeah, schooner would be more correct. Say, darn me and my horrible pronunciation. I can write words. Reading them is another thing. Anyways. What about me? Kanto sweetly asked. How about you try giving us some real readings on these bastards and what nasty tricks they have? He roared, flying over the schooner's busted stern and landing on the ketch's bow. The captain gave himself his own cover fire, unleashing a blizzard of enchanted lead. Now that two of his recruits were out of the fight, he couldn't continue the fight as if it were simple play. Perhaps Carsonius could have taken some solace in the fact that his new crew members hadn't broken under unexpected pressure, but the casualties weighed on his conscience. Aseki landed silently next to him, leveling one of the mage's guns and taking deadly aim. One alien's head erupted in a shower of twinkling blue stars. The other bedecked sailors yelped and dove for cover behind the sundered main mast. From there, they could take pot shots with decent cover. Batty sped from the rear mast, screeching, "It's batten time!" Do we really have to keep him? Seki groaned, covering her flank with a cartoon wing. The fruit bat let loose a blast of devastating sound that knocked two aliens out of the sails and into the star lines. Carsonius shrugged as he kept firing. If he keeps performing so well, I don't see why not. A dark look from the demon had him adding thanks to the comwax. Hey, Batty, buddy, we're going to need to find a catchphrase more deserving of you. Hell yeah, getting my own catchphrase from the fruitiest of fruits, Captain Carsonius. I can't wait. Please, never say that again. Carsonius groaned before charging the remaining pirates. He heard a scream from behind, followed by a dazzling flash caught in the windows of the sailors' old helms, and culminating in a wondrous explosion. Amped by whatever Miriam and Shadlin were doing, Carsonius conjured an expensive pulse deflector breastplate. It created a momentary bubble of force to repel nearly every physical bullet and energy-based shot. Precious seconds of safety that allowed him to jump into the air once again and spray the whole line of cowering gunmen. The ricocheted bullets mercilessly tore into the sailors. Carsonia saw their deep-diving suits bubble as if their owners were boiling on the inside. Green, orange, and pink bloods leaked out onto the deck as the sailors dropped dead. Landing right behind the line of dying aliens, the captain dropped his SMGs and flipped out the bloodlust. Just in time, too. Once more, cabin doors burst open and mages came out roaring. One bullet slammed into a sparkly suit and blew the wizard in half. Boggo! It's him! At last, he shall taste my powers! At last, I get to see what's so special about this guy. Carsonius didn't have to give this Bogo fellow a chance to fight. Carsonius didn't wait to give this Bogo fellow a chance to fight back. He unloaded Bloodlust, ripping apart another mage. Two of his bullets bounced off a large stone circle as a large stone circle slowly walked out of the cabin. Someone behind it swerved the large object from side to side, as if they were a hapless member of a moving crew struggling with a cabinet. Squinting through the haze of gunsmoke and starline light, Carsonius took in the strange stone. I only asked because I'm playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Oh, cool. And Killorn says, Lars, you're doing great. Haha. If someone makes fun of how you speak in any language, they're usually not worth paying attention to. Schooner comes from a dialect in a different part of the world. I have been educated. And also, Schooner is not normally a ship type that you immediately hear these days. Especially if you go looking for warships, you're going to hear frigate more often. In any case, I take another drink of water here. Good water. It was the stone. It was large enough to cover a man standing nearly 6 feet tall. Ancient pseudo-Aztec engravings spread across its entire surface. They depicted 4 peculiar serpents tied in a complex knot and devouring one another. Something else was underneath them, too. His knowledge didn't bring up anything on what that might be, but Kanto almost immediately screamed in his ear, "Get away from that, Captain! It's a portal device, and he's been charging it! Those images are reminiscent of old doorways created to access the Grey World!" That was something Carsonius did remember. An awful in-between space where the foulest and most rejected thoughts and ideas tumbled into, protecting the realms and reality from some of the worst and weirdest humanity was capable of. "You wouldn't dare!" he began to gasp. "Oh, I would," Boggo purred, sticking his head out from behind the stone tablet. His species and true identity were covered by the same old helmet that all his comrades wore, but yellow antennae poked out. They waved threateningly. "Captain, you must pull back!" Jeremiah shouted over the comms. "Everyone pull back now! We do not want to confront anything related to that place." "Damn it! Fall back to the ship! Everyone back on board the Monarch Dragon," Carsonius ordered. Bloodlust was replaced in his presence with a flamethrower. Anything to press the sluggish wizard. Unfortunately, Batty either didn't get the order or didn't fully understand their situation. Cheering wildly, he darted down to attack Boggo. The hidden sailor leaped from the shadows and fired their gun. Magical bands of gold wrapped themselves around the massive bat, pinning his wings. He bounced painfully off the deck and went overboard. Misaki snarled and was already flying before Batty even hit the floor. She managed to snatch him right out of the air before getting swallowed up by the starline. Rolling dangerously, she also avoided several more shots from the wizards. Carsonius swore and willed his flames to devour the wooden ship even faster. Sensing his danger, Boggo began chanting. Keeping himself balanced with presence and self, Carsonius beat a hasty retreat. A laser blast from the Monarch Dragon's rear guns bounced harmlessly off the stone block. That was the final signal that retreat was a must. Flipping out another gun, the captain tried to keep the mage's attention as Aseki flew back into the spaceship with Batty. "Captain, you might want to get on board at once," Jeremiah cautioned over the comms. "A portal is already opening," Kanto warned. "You have 10 seconds before something made of your nightmares comes out." "Is everyone back on board?" "Yes," Omegas grunted through the comics. laying you some cover fire. Bullets like mini torpedoes slammed into the ketch, tearing it apart. The flames rose higher, but Bago kept chanting. Carsonius felt the hairs on the back of his neck rising. Some long-suppressed ancient survival instinct rang bells of doom. Something unspeakable was coming. It was enough to ruin his concentration and lose his balance. Carsonius tripped right at the figurehead and nearly tumbled into the star line. Behold, pirates! Your doom is at hand! You're making a mistake, Doggo! The name's Bago, and I'm in complete control! The covered wizard squealed as his stone tablet split in two. A glowing portal jumped out from behind the four snakes as they came to fleshy life. They flopped onto the deck, vigorously tearing each other apart, landing on the deck with a teeth-shaking crash. The portal rapidly expanded. Massive hands flew out of the door, grasping its vague borders, and heaved a larger body into view. A male torso covered in hair that looked more like kelp and sopping wet was followed by a bloated head on a too-thin neck. It had a pathetic, wispy mustache on its top lip, a face split with a toothy grin, and eyes watery with perverse joy. Next came tentacles with hands for suckers. Where are my sexy girls at? The creature spoke with a high-pitched voice that grated on Carsonius' ears. Changing to a grappling hook, he fired the projectile at the monarch dragon. Willing it to reach, the hook made it to the cargo hold. Omegas' hand shot out and grasped it. Pulling the second trigger, Carsonius pulled himself towards the ship. Tentacles raced to reach him. Miriam appeared and frantically slashed with two knives, sending waves of slicing energy into the abomination. She managed to sever some of the tentacles and batter away a few others, but the chase was still on. Moving the ship out of range, Kanto said, taking control. The monarch dragon bolted away from the disaster. Resummoning his Gut Puncher 500, Carsonius fired several shots into the grasping hands from the tentacles. The bubbles of repelling energy knocked the nearest slimy limbs back into their detestable brethren. He had just enough breathing room to glance back at the three wooden vessels atop the star line. The gray world monster had turned on Bago, tentacles ripping their way through the ships, gathering the living and dead. The captain turned away. He didn't need to see what happened next. Gotcha, Omega said, finally reeling him in. The portal is thankfully unstable. It won't last much longer, Kanto informed everyone, sounding both immensely relieved and a little disappointed. Sad that you didn't get to eat some of me to escape, eh? Carsonius grimly reasoned. Check on everyone and stabilize the wounded. Secure what loot we managed to take. Hopefully it's worth this. And let's get back to autonomy. Shields and interior atmosphere stabilized as the monarch dragon flew into true space. The cargo bay doors shut behind the captain as the portal collapsed, pulling in Bago, his ships, and the abomination he had so unwisely summoned. And there you have it. That is the first chapter in my rough draft to Monarch Mercenaries number 2. Definitely. Reading through this, I'm like, oh, there are definitely some things I need to better clarify. Sentences that need tightening, better words to bring on in. Some really bad spelling errors as well. But hey, yeah, there you go. So I like to get people's feedback. What did you think? I know I'm throwing you right into the middle of this. And if you haven't read the first book, then it really is like kind of like, oh, where the heck did all of this come from? Well, thank you, Iso. Thank you for saying it's still written really well. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Say, I really, really do enjoy writing action scenes, and it says it's engaging, and slowly not having context becomes less relevance. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I will say this. It is always a bit dangerous to open up a story with a lot of fighting. going on like for its initial chapter, because you are making a promise for lots of action then. And the story considerably slows down after that as they come back to the city of autonomy, get themselves situated. We get to know where all the characters are now personally after the end of the first book. And it's a setup for like the big inciting incident that will then drive the rest of the story forwards. But there will be plenty of action. We've got a whole lot of new characters to introduce into the story. And on top of that, one of the things that this first chapter is meant to introduce is a sense of the weird and the dangerous, as opposed to the first book, which was a whole lot of go to this place to get this thing and go to this place to get that thing and adventure, adventure, adventure. The second book will in part lean more into not quite Lovecraftian horror, but it is going to lean more into a bizarre kind of horror. So, like this monster that was unleashed from the gray world is a thematic and tonal reference to things that you can expect later on in the story. As Carsonius is Brandon, as his name actually is. By the end of the first book, he's kind of given up Captain Carsonius, but everyone else knows him as Captain Carsonius. So hence the flip-flopping between names. He will be basically trapped in the pirate city of autonomy, and in a very claustrophobic way be fighting against some truly horrific things. And that's something to look forward to in the second book. Nick says, wow, that was incredible and very intense too. The action scenes were very well written. Well, thank you. It was a beautiful bedtime story, Mr. Lars. I enjoyed it. Oh, thank you. Virtual hug, you got this. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Keelan says, I love Lovecraft. To be sure, how do you balance saying enough to make people afraid without saying so much it sounds goofy? I think Keel Lawrence, and this is something I'm still figuring out for myself, to be all honest. But I think it comes down to describing the things, just enough things that you know will make people feel very, very uneasy. And so, like, for example, with what I just read, of the strange tentacle guy, I personally am like, I wonder if I almost described too much. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to describe something that sounded completely unnatural. This very large, misshapen humanoid body that instantly gives off predator vibes in a very creepy way, complemented then by just these tentacles with hands for suckers. And so you get this image in your head that looks ridiculous. It looks ridiculous. And then even has kind of a ridiculous thing of like, ooh, where are all my little sexy girls at? And it's just like, oh no. But it's how everyone else reacts. And I think that's one of the ways that I help to kind of balance out just how goofy this is, with like, this is awful. Where everyone's like, this is from the gray world. No, get out now. Like the characters all know that this is something very vile and dangerous. And almost instantly, this thing is not only hunting after them, but it turns on Bago and his crew, and the ships, all three ships, start getting torn apart. And it just all happens so really fast. And so you can, in many ways, I think, introduce something that seems like almost silly, and then you make what happens next truly horrifying. A good example in visual aspect, I would argue, is Mike Myers from Halloween. So honestly, you just got a big brute walking around with a rather silly mask. And to be all honest, like Mike Myers at first glance, like if you were to see him without the context or anything, is not all that scary. There's plenty of other things that are more terrifying to look at in the moment, but it's his actions, the fact that he just never gives up as he hunts is one of the things that just makes him so absolutely terrifying. And so it's not just simply how a creature or a monster or a killer looks, but what they do and how other characters react that helps to enforce the horror. And so I think that's right. That right there is kind of how you can achieve a good balance. You definitely don't want to describe too much, but what you do describe, if it starts feeling a little bit goofy, make people fear this thing or this person based on its actions and how other characters interact with it. And then he says, also the fight scenes in the chapter were so much fun and very creative too. Well, thank you. I also love the hilarious, goofy humor in this chapter. I definitely feel like I can tighten up the humor a little bit more, make it and whatnot. But thank you. And I definitely hope to expound on the different dynamics between all of these characters and hopefully bring out a little bit more of that humor, because in order to pull off this story, since the story is a little bit darker in terms of its individual elements, I will definitely need the humor to help keep things flowing pretty well and keep it balanced. But yeah, thank you guys for your feedback and questions. And also for helping me to correct myself with schooner rather than schooner. I definitely need to also do a little bit better with my nautical terms. That's one of the beautiful things about the internet. If you don't know, you can always look it up and then double check what you are looking up. Don't rely on the AI answer. Holy cow, AI has been failing me so many times in terms of research answers that I'm just like, why do we even have this thing? I don't want it. Go away. But after almost 4 hours of live streaming, holy cow, I think I'm going to call it there, everyone. This was a whole lot of fun. Thank you so much for everyone who was able to correct. Only misers are afraid to help when they can. In any case, thank you everyone so much for spending time with me and Nathan tonight. Hope they were able to have a good and informative time. Please do check out our new website. Give us feedback on it. We'd love to know how we can improve and what you really like. And please invite others to also get in on the Choose Your Own Adventure stories and on the Writer's Roulette. And just let's help to build up a community of authors here on the interwebs. And yes, thank you so much. Yeah. For that, have a great vacation. Yes, remember this: there will be no live stream next week. So in 2 weeks, we will continue the fun. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be seeing you soon in the next video. Until then, y'all, juice.